Hello, Horngorns. Welcome back to Vampire the Masquerade, Coteries in New York. Uh, where we left off last stream, we met the rest of the Coterie. Well, we're not Coterie yet. Coterie is like a small group of vampires, but we're befriending people. And I spoke to Hiba about this. He told me, like, he didn't spoil the ending of the game, but he told me at the end of the game, the two people you completed first will appear, but technically speaking, you could finish all the routes. But only the first two people you finish will appear at the end of the game. He didn't tell me why they appear, but yeah. So that's my goal. I'm gonna finish all of them before I continue on with the main story. And also, I'd like to apologize for yesterday's stream. It was out of my control because the internet dropped, but I really wanted to play Bloodlines because I just got to Chinatown and met the Koi Jin, but it is what it is. Let's continue this. Compared to the industrial ugliness of Red Hook, Starling Place is quite a change of scenery. The heavy, gentrified, and pleasantly dull residential area emanates a sort of peaceful apathy that rich hipsters scoff at and blue-collar workers dream of. All of a sudden, the Nosferatu stops. It almost seems like he was taking a deep breath, steeling himself for things to come. This is the place. Like I said, I'm gonna unintentionally do voice acting, but I'm not gonna try. With that, I mean, I'm still using this game to practice my voice work, like, put more emphasis in my words, even though I keep misreading stuff. But you know, it is what it is. With that, he points to a surprisingly nice-looking two-story house. The place is almost completely dark. Almost. You notice a dim light shining through the curtains of an upper-story window. It's probably safe to assume that the head of the family is working late, especially if the head of the family appears to be a vampire. Okay, kid, we gotta be gentle about this. I'm talking velvet gloves, soft cushions. You ring my lord gentle. You rang my lord gentle. We need to get Layson out here without making a fuss or letting his family see us. If we blow this, he'll shut down like a speak easy on raid night. Trust me, I know. What's the plan? Okay, what's the plan? Tell you what, how about you take the lead on this one? I'm curious to see how you handle it. You take a step back and look around the area. The lit up window seems like a safe bet. Now it's just a matter of getting Larson's attention, his and no one else's. As you're trying to come up with a viable strategy, you're suddenly startled by a loud noise. It takes you a second to identify the sound of a dog's barking. It doesn't take long to figure out where it came from, as a bearded man leading a Rottweiler on a leash comes into view. I need to eat, man. As you turn towards the man with the dog, D'Angelo gives you a worried look. Kid? Shushing him with a gesture, you plunge into the shadow and crouch behind a well-trimmed hedge. True to his word, D'Angelo follows your lead, though he doesn't seem too happy about it. You best not be thinking what I think you're doing. You tense up, waiting for the man to get closer. When he does, you spring from the darkness, grabbing both of his arms and sinking your teeth into his neck. His blood gushes into your mouth, thick with surprise and laced with enough fear. It's also quick, and yet so sublime. The man goes limp. His best friend does not. The dog goes off on a barking spree that would make a dead man cover his ears. You tear away from your victim, ready to let the beast loose on a helpless canine. D'Angelo, however, is quick to ascertain your monstrous appetite. The detective approaches the animal, looking it straight in the eyes. He mumbles something under his breath, an oddly melodic whisper. Oh yeah, animalism. It's a discipline that the Nosferatu have. Mesmerized by the chant, the dog grows quiet and lays on its back, allowing D'Angelo to pat its belly. Suddenly, you notice lights on in some of the houses. D'Angelo gives you an angry look and points to the unconscious man in your arms. Get him out of sight now! Heeding his advice, you hoist the man over your shoulders and carry him to the nearest bush. Can I reload a save? Just as you're getting up, a very unassuming and slightly unshaven man in turtleneck approaches D'Angelo. He doesn't seem happy to see him. Are you fucking insane? I mean, I know you are, but this is nuts, even by your standards, D'Angelo. You glance to D'Angelo. He seems somewhat embarrassed, scratching the back of his neck, literally trying to find the right angle to play this. Sorry, we need to... Hey, Larson, sorry about the fuss, but we needed to get your attention. By feeding right next to my house? What the hell is wrong with you? Get out of here. Relax, I didn't bleed him dry, unlike your friend at Red Hook. Is that supposed to mean anything to me? D'Angelo, what's going on here? It's about the Red Hook murders. We think one of yours is responsible. Bullshit, a Duskborn's got enough A Duskborn got enough trouble with just staying alive out here. What could possibly make them openly violate the Masquerade? Desperation. The killer's been living messages, whoever they are. I think they know something. Something that they can't share with just anyone. I know it's far-fetched, but it's the only way this puzzle fits together. Nah, I don't buy it. You're reaching, trying to find a scapegoat. Get in your boss's good graces. Word gets around, D'Angelo. You think I don't know who you're working for? What if we stop asking blind? Then help us clear your name. Then help us clear your people's name. What have you got to lose? Everything. I've been a thorn in the council's side for a while now. This is just the excuse they need to get rid of me. If it turns out if it turns out one of yours did it, and you set on your hands to protect him, you think the council won't jump on that? He looks off into the darkness, pondering his options. He lets out a heavy sigh. Look, I'll ask around, consult my sources. If it turns out one of my own is responsible, they will face justice. In the meantime, just keep your deductions to yourself. I have enough trouble as it is. Deal. Good. Now will you excuse me? I have to get back to my family. Was he turned into a vampire before or after he had his family, or else his kids could be Dampier, unless they're adopted. I think the game will explain later. And with that, Larson retreats to the elusive safety of his home. You decide it's best to move along. You walk a couple blocks in utter silence. Even D'Angelo's mumbling seems to have taken a back seat. Oddly enough, you find his new profound retenance somewhat unnerving. Finally, the Nosferatu Finally, the Nosferatu stops and turns towards you. Hell of a night. I don't know about you, kid, but I could sure use a drink. Something warm, in a tall, sweaty glass. But first, let me tally your score. Let's see now. You did make a good first impression. I like someone who can talk themselves out of a tight spot. Talking's cheap. Bullets not so much. You held your own at the crime scene. Nothing I hadn't figured out on my own, but hey, We can't all be professionals. Finally, when the situation called for subtlety, you managed to avoid unwanted attention. Discretion is what separates a private dick from just any old dick. All in all, you did fine, but not fine, but not bad for your first case. Don't let it get to your head. I'll be in touch. Ooh. Let me know if I let you know if I hear from Larson. Be ready to meet me at my office. At the office. He starts to walk away, but suddenly stops and turns toward you. Bring a notepad. Every good assistant should have one. Let's rest. You're walking down the street towards your haven. In some other town, the sidewalks would be deserted this time of night. In NYC, there are plenty of passers-by going about their business. It's easy to be paranoid when you're a vampire surrounded by a crowd of humans. The kindred have many enemies, and all those enemies have one trait in common. They're invisible, indistinguishable from normal humanity. Other vampires, hunters, all look like people. There's also werewolves and other supernaturals, but I don't think this game covers them. Is that old man just a tired restaurant worker or a kindred, tall, tailing your movements? Are the officers ideally waiting in a patrol car, ordinary cops, or Second Inquisition specialists looking to end on the undead threats? This kind of thinking leads to madness, but you can't shake the feeling that someone is watching you. It's not the first time you felt like this. Whatever this is, it's probably something you have to take care of. Best case, someone is tailing you. Worst case, you'll be attacked and killed. Unfortunately, being undead has its limitations. The sun is coming up soon, and you'll burn to a crisp if you stay on the streets. You reach your haven and settle in for the day. Disconcerted by the idea that someone might know where you sleep. As you wake from your slumber and emerge from your haven for the night, you notice a familiar face on the other side of the street, standing on the corner, looking straight at you. It's Kaiser's lackey, whom you recently met, Jackie, who you met recently. He nods to you, encouraging you to approach. His hands are outside of his pockets, and he seems pretty relaxed. He's keeping his eyes on the street, though as if making sure you're alone. He smiles awkwardly when you approach. Evening. Got something for you from our mutual friend. He produces a crumpled piece of paper from his jacket pocket and hands it to you. Read it, memorize it, and give it back here. The letter. The paper might just be a page ripped out of a spiral notebook, but the writing on it is exquisitely detailed and deliberate. It reads, "Time to square your debts with me. Go to the wine shop at 232 Mulberry Street and ask for the 1821 special reservation Donatello Niagara Monroe. Morrow? When they tell you they don't have it, say you have a Fidel Seville. Oh, it's French. Is it French or is it Italian? Fidel Seville del Amelia? G. Those exact fucking words, and make sure you get the G right. You'll get a bottle. Just take it and leave it by saying grazie. Oh, it's Italian. Don't ask how much it is or anything. Just walk out. When you have it, come back to Jackie Boy here and let him know. You done? Memorize that shit and hand it over. Didn't think your boss was the letter guy. I don't see what the rush is, buddy. Hey, it's your funeral. I can stand here all night and even enjoy a nice sunset while I'm at it. Not a luxury you have. Just hand me back the letter once you're done. You note the phases and address mentioned in the letter. Then hand the it. Wait. Then hand the it. I'll say hand it back to Jackie. He immediately reaches for a lighter and burns the letter, putting out the ashes with his boot. So yeah, when you do what the boss asks, come back here so I can tell you where to go next. I'll be in that alley over there, so find me when you have the item, whatever it is. I don't know. And the boss made it extra clear that I shouldn't care, so I don't. See ya. He shuffles away, leaves you to pursue the lead from the letter. Time to pay a visit to Lenota. You arrive at the address mentioned in the note. Not counting local restaurant patrons, the street is mostly empty at this time of night. But curiously, a wine shop is still open. I mean, most liquor places, at least where I live here in Australia, closes around 7 or so. Depends, really. Inside, a small middle-aged woman with curly hair stands behind the counter in front of a wall filled with wine bottles. There's a door at the back of the room with a small table and chair, accompanied by a man in a black box leather jacket with slick combed back hair. He's reading a newspaper, but pauses as a little bell rings when you open the door. He takes a sip from a small steaming cup, then gets back to his broadsheet. Proprietor. Good evening. How can I help you? Counter up. Wow, you've got such a great selection of wine. Say, you wouldn't have a bottle of the 1/8. Wait, oh, that's the year. 1821 Special Reserve Donatello Negro Moro, would you? She gives a curious look. Let me check. She seems to be looking through a database on the laptop, sitting on the counter. She puts on a polite smile. I'm afraid we don't have that one at the moment, sorry. Hey, you can trust me. I'm Fidel Cerveto del Familia G. So I did need to remember it. She raises an eyebrow. Right, let me check our stuff in the back. The woman leaves the counter and goes through the doors in the back. The man by the table puts his newspaper and takes another gulp from the cup, washing it down with a gulp of water from a nearby glass. He tries to hide it, but there's no doubt he's watching you. About a minute passes. Mind if I borrow your newspaper? The man takes out a pen and ostensibly begins solving a Sudoku puzzle, his eyes darting to you every so often. The doors to the back of the store open. The proprietor emerges with a small, unlabeled squirt bottle of crimson liquid. She gives you an apologetic smile. Susie, sorry for taking so long. Turns out we did have it. She offers you the bottle, and you reach out to grab it, but she retracts it. You do know what this is, don't you? You focus your blood, and immediately see both the people in the shop focus intently in on you, and what you're about to say. I know exactly what this is, and I'm the right person to give it to. The woman makes a move to give you the bottle, but stops mid-gesture. No, I don't think so. The woman looks over at the table. Wait, the woman looks over to the guy at the table, and he stands up. You decide there won't be a better time, and snatch the bottle from her hands. The man draws a gun from a side holster, and as you make a run for it, several more gunmen pour from the back door. Shots ring, piercing your undead flesh, but you're fast, and most miss their mark. By the time you make it out onto the street and lose their pursuit, you see you have a nice... wait. You see you have a few new bullet holes to patch up. The ball is, thankfully, intact. You make your way back to the car, cautiously, and drive back to your apartment. It takes you some time to find a parking spot, but you finally get out of the car and start looking for Jackie. He's not far from where you parted ways under 2 hours ago. Got the goods? Got it, but it was a hassle. Oh, boo-hoo, stick around. I gotta make a call. He takes a few steps into a narrow space between two buildings and takes out the same high-tech phone you saw him carrying last time. Hey boss, yeah, they have it. Where do I point them to? Okay, yeah, I'll tell them to go there right away. He puts the phone back in his pocket and turns back to you. So for the vampires, my focuses right now are the Gangrel and the Nosferatu. They're the two I want to finish first, and I'll finish the others afterwards. Well, let's point. Half an hour. So you better step on it. See you around. But only a flappant salute, Jackie starts walking down the street. You make your way to the car and drive. You had to push the speed limit to make it on time, but you're here, Willets Point. Willets Point is quite a change of scenery. The place is a post-industrial dump, the nearby stadium notwithstanding. You stop your car. You realize if you go any further down, the potholes will kill your chastity. You step out into one of those gashes in the asphalt, splashing in ankle-deep water. Kaiser's limo is nowhere to be seen. In fact, the whole place is pretty much deserted, other than the apparent proprietor of a lonely bar, a middle-aged woman, who's just locking the place up. Is Dekabara and Danganronpa really? Basically, yeah. I mean, like I said, I notice I do unintentionally do voices in this game because of how I see the character arc. Also, don't forget Katawa Shoujo. I also did voice acting in Katawa Shoujo. Danganronpa, I didn't really do voice acting besides Mikan and sometimes Peko. Also, hello, Chocoloma. This is too perfect an opportunity to not take advantage of. I feel like I'm being too greedy and I'm feeding on everyone I see. She's walking to her car, ready to call it a night, when you sneak up on her. She's far too tired to resist your strong hold and swift bite. You can taste the caffeine in her veins, smell the cheap cigarette in her hair, the old cooking grease in her clothes. She passes out. You assault the closing note of a long day at work. You let her down gently and feel a prong of remorse. You pick up the car keys she dropped and place her in the driver's seat. She'll find an explanation for passing out like this for sure. The bright lights of a car pulling over down the road illuminate you as you close the door. It's a black limo. Kaiser is finally here, it would seem. Same as last time, the car doors open but nobody comes out. You know the drill. This time, Kaiser is visible when you look inside. You sit down and close the door behind you. Heard there was a shootout in Mulberry. I told you to stick to the fucking script, didn't I? You have the bottle? Give it here. I did stick to the script. You hand the bottle over to the Nosferatu. He uncorks it gently, takes a whiff, and puts the cork back in. Yeah, that's the stuff. Good job, kid. Consider your debt paid. Oh yeah, and also take this. It's what Lanely wanted. So vampires are... apparently immune to conventional weapons during the Dark Ages, but they are immune... They're not immune to flamethrowers. One of the vampires' weaknesses is fire. Vampires are weak to fire, the sun, and yeah. If you put a wooden stake to their chest, it only paralyzes them. In the they're not weak to garlic unless you take the folklore bane flaw in the tabletop. Vampires can also see their reflections, unless also folklore bane and also the La Sombra clan, because they master shadows, they can't see the reflections. Bombs produce fire, so that could kill them. Because vampires are weak to fire and the sun. And no, UV lights don't work, it has to be the sun. Because according to vampire legends in the world of darkness, God cursed Cain with immortality. Then Cain met Lilith, and Lilith is the first mage. Mage counts as supernatural beings. Lilith took Cain in, they fell in love, yada yada yada, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna teach you how to awaken, because if a human awakens, they become mages. So Cain drank some of Lilith's blood. Mind you, at this time, Cain wasn't weak. Cain wasn't, what do you call it? Cain wasn't really a vampire, he was just immortal. And then when he drank Lilith's blood, 3 angels appeared. The first angel was Michael. The 3 angels asked Cain, do you regret what you did? Right? We don't know. They haven't really... Actually, there's a dwarf planet that they could gain strength from, but the dwarf planet is also a sign of the end. They call it a red star, but it's actually a dwarf planet. Anyways, the first angel, Michael, all the angels asked Cain if he regrets killing Abel. He kept saying no, so each time the angels would curse him. Michael cursed him with a weakness to fire. Every time him and his children interact with fire, it feels like the burn of the holy sword, you know, Michael's flaming sword. The second angel, Raphael, once again asking the question, but he said no. Raphael cursed him with the weakness to sunlight. Not only a weakness to sunlight, but also the fear of sunlight. Vampires go through a frenzy if they're either afraid, hungry, or threatened. So they could go through a frenzy if they see the sun. Then the next angel, Uriel, cursed him with... Originally, before the retcon, Uriel cursed him with a hunger for blood, destroy anything he touches, meaning he can't make children. Like, if he can't make children, the only way he can make children is if he technically kills them by turning them into vampires, as well as cling to darkness. That's why when a vampire goes to sleep, they have no dreams, they're just dead. But that was retcon for Gabriel. Then a 4th angel appeared, Gabriel. Gabriel took pity on Cain and said this: if either you or your childer apologizes for what you did, I will give you guys redemption. But because I'm an angel and I have to do my job, I will also give you a curse. And that curse is hunger for blood, and his children will turn against him. So yeah. And then sometime later, when Cain founded the first city, he met a woman called the Crone, and the Crone taught him how to paralyze vampires with wooden stakes. So yeah. Out of all the angels, Uriel was the one who cursed Cain the most. Probably the most brutal curse too. He passes you an envelope with what feels like a thick card inside. Thank you, Mr. Kaiser. Yeah. I'll send Jackie over if I need anything else from you. How about that? Time for you to go now. Time for you to get out now. He waves you out of the car with the envelope in hand. You get out, back onto the torn asphalt in discreet surroundings. The limo slowly drives away. Finally, you return to Sophie and bring her what she wanted. Mercury lets you in. You hear a shrill, unpleasant laugh, and you realize Sophie's having a guest over. Thomas Antorio, you met in Elysium a few nights back. That shriek is unmistakable. Ah, Jaws, so glad to see you. Tell me, did you two have a chance to talk previously? Thomas speaks up before you can. Why, yes, of course. And such a good first impression you made too. Miss Laney clearly did the right thing by taking you under her wing. I'm sure she thinks so too. Don't you, Sophie? Who do you think's stronger? Ariel in canon or Ariel in SCP universe? What do you mean canon? Like biblical canon? Because it's hard to scale Bible stuff. In Vampire the Masquerade, in the World of Darkness, Cain is kind of compared to a god. Like, there's technically in earlier editions of the game, there's technically a character sheet for Cain, and it literally just reads, "You lose." Like, you can't even fight Cain. I'm pretty sure Lilith's the same. But demons in the World of Darkness, demons are fallen angels. And the thing is, no other supernatural beings could take down a demon. Not even a werewolf. And werewolves are already pretty strong. Why, of course you do, of course. Well, I believe I must be going. I'll be sure to let Prince Panhard know your thoughts, Miss Langley. Word for word. Or as close as I can remember them. I appreciate it, Thomas. You two enjoy your night now. Goodbye, Sophie, Jaws, Greggy boy. He gives you a sly smile. Sophie's driver opens the door for Antorio, and the guest steps out with a single wave of the hand towards his host and you. The door closed. He's quite a character, isn't he? Yes, quite. But he has his uses. Thomas has clout in court, and access to many juicy details on everyone from the prince to the lowliest primogen. It's useful to have him on your side, even if his secretary requires some patience. I mean, in the Bible, angels, like, don't believe the paintings. The paintings claim that angels are technically just humans with wings. I'm a divine dragon, so I know that's a lie. Also, I'm half fiend. Angels are technically just eldritch abominations. Like, they have a bunch of eyes. I mean, it depends on your rank. There's a possibility some low-ranked angels tend to have, look more human, possibly with some animal traits and wings. But the higher-ranked angels look like flat-out eldritch abominations. Even the Bible mentions one of the higher-ranked angels was literally just a wheel with a bunch of eyes. And wings. 6 wings. In a manner of speaking. And why do you think they say, be not afraid? Speaking of patience, you have been putting mine to the test lately. Did you manage to contact Kaiser and acquire what I asked for? Yes, but I had to do another job for him first. Yes, I have it. But the data you offered was old news to him. I had to do another job for him before he would give me this card. She retrieves the envelope from you. I'm sure he did. I do hope it wasn't too much of an inconvenience. He made me go on an entirely separate escapade to retrieve a bottle of wine from a store in Noilota. I had to use code phrases and whatnot. Wine shop. Code phrases. That degenerate pest. She's visibly agitated, but calms down and smiles at you. Don't worry about it. I'll make sure that whatever Kaiser had you do, it'll blow over. She opens the envelope and looks at the card. You notice the same lettering you saw on Kaiser's note from before, but can't see the details. Her eyes widen. Yes, excellent. I need to call in some favors. I will likely be busy for the next few nights. You have my permission to show some initiative. My dear Charge, I will contact you soon. With that, Sophie ushers you outside, and you left to do with the rest of the night hours as you like. Okay. So this is the gang rule, and this is the Masquerade. Then I'll do the other vampires later. Once again, you cross the gate to Prospect Park and head straight to where you last saw the feral duo. Minutes pass, finding no signs of Tamika. You begin to worry that something might have happened there. Suddenly you hear rustling coming from the nearby bushes, and it's not the stray cat kind of rustling either. Tamika? The rustling stops, if only for a second. Suddenly, the bushes part, and Raoul walks out, desperately trying to look confident. You wish. Listen, I wanted to have a word before Tam gets here. She seems to like you for whatever strange reason, but the way I see it, you're a nuisance at best. At worst, you're a threat. Just give it some time. You'll warm up to me yet. That whole suave asshole routine might work on your dipshit Kami friends, but I'm not impressed. Tamika is my sister, in every sense of the word that counts. Anything happens to her that I find even remotely your fault, I'm coming after you. Is that clear? I'm not your enemy, or Tamika's. I don't think you understand. I don't give a fuck what you think you are. What I'm saying is, if anything happens to Tamika, I'm holding you accountable. All of a sudden, the sounds of footsteps reaches your ears. It's just faint enough to not be ostentatious, but still loud enough to hear. You can tell that whoever's approaching wants to make their presence known. Both you and Raoul turn just in time to see Tamika emerge from behind an old sycamore tree. It's hard to tell just how long she's been listening in on your conversation. In any case, she walks up and speaks, addressing no one in particular. Did I miss anything? Your brother's worried about you. He seems to think I'm a bad influence. Aw. In an instant, her voice goes from mockingly sweet to stern and unyielding. Her next words sound like a challenge. Is that true, Raoul? You think I can't take care of myself? God damn it, Tam. That's not what this is about, and you know it. I know, big brother. I'm tempted to just say Oni-chan, but... You meant well. You always mean well. Ah, screw it. Why do I even bother? And with that, Raoul takes his leave. Tamika waits in silence, just long enough to make sure he can no longer hear her, and addresses you. I have a favor to ask. For you? Sure, anything. She raises an eyebrow. Anything, huh? Careful, I might keep you to that. I meant what I said. I want friends! A look of genuine surprise washes over her face. She blinks, as if trying to revert her default resting bitch face setting. I have an errand to run. I was hoping you'd come with me. There's a place east of here. It's a short walk. We should be back in about 2, maybe 3 hours. Wait, we're walking? As in on foot? In New York City? I don't like cars, alright? They remind me of old times, before I came. This. Before I became this. It'd be distracting. So, can we go? Sure, we can go now if you're ready. Well, alright. As you head toward the parking lot, accompanied by Tamika and a lot of unanswered questions. Following Tamika's direction, you finally arrive at Evergreen Cemetery, one of the oldest burying grounds in Brooklyn. You enter through the southwestern gate and follow your companion through the sea of tombstones. It's a nice enough place as far as graveyards go, much less homogenized than the usual flat field littered with identical markers. Tamika confidently presses on, unnerving and wavering along a predetermined path. It's clear that she's been here more than a few times. Finally, she makes a sharp left and takes a few steps down a gravel walkway, coming to a sudden stop in front of a modest headstone. The inscription reads, Lucas Santiago, beloved sister and daughter, born 1991, taken from us too soon. This game took place in 2020, so she would have been 29, but we don't know when she died, so... With her eyes fixed on the gravestone, she lets out an absent-minded utterance. I need a moment. Not long. 5 minutes at the most. You look around in search of a good spot to wait for her and pass the time. At the far end of a nearby lawn, you notice a lone bench situated under a weeping willow. Suddenly you hear voices, distant but slowly approaching. Judging by the tone and timbre, you're guessing it's a couple of teenagers out to get their late-night kicks among the dearly departed. Might be a good chance to feed. Then again, you could just pass the time walking around. It's quite nice in a dark and somber kind of way. Do I need to feed? I don't want to be greedy. And also it's 2 teenagers, so it could be a masquerade breach. I'll just wait. I'll wait on the bench over there by the tree. Thank you. You sit on the bench and take a minute to relax and let your mind wander. Looking at the willows swaying in the breeze, you soak in the atmosphere. Being a vampire sure has its moments. Finally, you get back to the tree and find Tamika sitting in the bench. Without a word, you sit next to her. You look over to her, doing your best not to stare. She looks down, crossing her arms and putting her hands on her shoulders. In an instant, the ferocious savage disappears, replaced by a vulnerable young woman. I think I'm done. You okay? I'm better now. Sorry, I guess I should tell you what that was about. She looks away. You can tell she's struggling to open up to you, so you remain silent, trying not to make her uncomfortable. That was Embrace, not far from here, in the cemetery. A fitting spot, I suppose. It was close to a decade ago. I'd been on the road for a couple of years at that point, hitchhiking from one town to another. New York was supposed to be just another stop. And then I met Jezebel. I'm trying to sound sad. I'm not sure if I'm doing a good job. She was strong, smart, independent. Seemed like someone I could trust, someone I could get close to. She never made me feel inadequate or ashamed. And she could hold her own in a fistfight too. So you're also technically a neonate. You've only been a vampire for like 10 years at most, and like, I don't know, 5 years at 8 years at less, 7 years at less, because he said close to a decade. Funny thing though, she only wanted to meet during nighttime. I didn't think much of it, even came up with excuses for her. Busy, eccentric, whatever worked. Until one night, she sank her teeth into my neck. Hey, at least you got to know your sire. Can't say the same for myself. For a brief moment, she looks at you with genuine sympathy. I'm sorry. She then looks away, as if slightly embarrassed by her own reaction. Anyway, she left soon after turning me. I think the conclave of Flurge really shook her up. Wait, she left you all alone? Not exactly. There was Raoul and Luca. But we were all just pups. Sure, we were together, but still hopelessly lost. Oh yeah, gangrels. Wolves. But they're not werewolves. I have to clarify, gangrels and werewolves are different. I mean, there's a possibility they could be linked by a common ancestor, but werewolves aren't related to Cain. I'm talking about the antediluvian. I can go into more detail later. I'm not gonna lie. I felt betrayed. Furious. Terrified. Luca died a few years later. Operations Light Out, they called it. It was a coordinated assault by the Second Inquisition. A genocide by any other name. Her family got together, brought up a plot, and buried an empty casket. I guess they wanted some closure. Can't fault them for that. Even though she's not really here, I like to visit. I like to come and visit from time to time. It reminds me of who I am. Keeps me in check. Keeps the beast at bay. Oh, it's like a touchstone! In V5 and Vampire the Requiem, technically the reboot, they have these things called touchstones. Touchstones tend to just be humans. Touchstones help vampires cling on to humanity a little harder. Technically you don't need it because in older editions they don't have touchstones, but you know, werewolves also have touchstones. Also, this being the place of my embrace, you have to appreciate the level of irony. She straightens up. She straightens up and looks at you as if something just occurred to her. Sorry, I don't know what came over me. One minute I'm all grunts and stares, the next I'm giving you my bibliography. I guess I'm just tired of being scared, alone. You don't have to be alone. I used to think so. Those were simpler times. At this point, I'm just looking for something to believe in. Someone I can give a damn about. You got me for whatever it's worth. I'm not trying to be romantic, I just want friends. She looks at you. Her mouth drops open, ever so slightly. You can tell she wasn't expecting that. Yeah, I do. Don't I? You open your mouth, but before you can make a sound, Tamika motions at you to keep quiet. She lifts her head and sniffs at the air. Her ears perk up, and her eyes widen. Suddenly, she pushes you with all her strength, sending you flying off the bench. Before you even hit the ground, an immense shape flies into view and smashes down into the bench, splintering it into pieces. With blood surging through your veins, you pounce onto your feet. You look at a mass of fur and muscles that just nearly pulverized you. The creature rears its head, gives you a deranged stare. It then turns to Tamika. She seems utterly terrified, frozen in place, as if she literally just saw a ghost. You notice the creature shift its weight, as if preparing to pounce. Vampires are weak to fire and sunlight in this setting. They are... Hello, Hiba. I thought you couldn't make it! And I was explaining that to, Chocoloma earlier. How are you? How's your trip? Also, I was talking about touchstones earlier, and how there's a possibility of a common ancestor between gangrels and werewolves, but I'm not gonna go into that because at most it's probably just a theory by vampires. Anything else depends on clan, bloodline. Yeah. I was also talking about the folklore bane. Feeling as if your muscles have turned to steel, you ram the creature before it could throw itself at Tamika. A beast flies through the air, smashes its back against a tree. In a matter of seconds, however, it gets back to its feet. Your attack might have surprised it, but clearly didn't do any real damage. The creature then turns to you. For a second or two, it moves its mouth awkwardly, as if trying to remember how to form words. Stay out my ground. This is not a gangrel. Because if it's technically a werewolf, it would have been embarrassing because I said earlier there's probably no werewolves in this game. A creature runs off towards a nearby clearing when all of a sudden a gunshot sends it tumbling onto the ground. A group of well-armed men in body armor emerge from the shadows in an orderly formation and move in closer around the creature. This is probably Second Inquisition, so I think it's better to run and retreat and right. Not sure what to make of what's happening. You figure it's best to get out of sight. As if you start backing away into the nearby bushes, you notice Tamika following your lead. From the relative safety of thick foliage, you watch in silence as the group of armed men subdue the creature using steel nets and cattle prods. Yeah, these guys are probably Second Inquisition. In the corner of your eye, you catch Tamika looking away, as if she finds the whole spectacle somehow distasteful. She speaks under her breath, her voice shaking. Can we get out of here? You see no reason to object. Also, I decided on my two friends, Hiba. I decided on Tamika and D'Angelo. But I'm still gonna complete the other vampires before I end the game. I want friends. The walk back turns out to be silent and to be a silent and somber experience. You both walk in silence, the city, a blur of lights and cars careening by. Look over to Tamika. She seems lost in her thoughts. Finally, you decide to break the silence. Are you going to be alright? That thing back there really spooked you. That's my first run was, funnily enough. What do you mean? I don't know. She catches herself and quickly attempts to hide her vulnerability. Yeah, I think so. It's just that I've always heard stories about the scarred one. I never thought I'd actually run into him. The scarred one? That's the only name he's known by. He's a... Oh, yeah, you're right. He's a white/gangrel. He's a cautionary tale for young gangrel. He's what happens when you let the beast take over. I always figured him to be more of a metaphor. Seeing him in real life, it's like a Christian just happened to run into Judas Iscariot one day. And seeing him hunted down by the SI. Oh yeah, I was right. It is the... I mean, it was obvious it was a Second Inquisition. They were in armor and they had equipment. And they clearly knew what they were doing. I don't know what to think. I don't even know where to start thinking. Trying to give her some space, you spend the rest of the walk in silence. Soon enough, the familiar tree line of Prospect Park comes into view. I can only say white because he couldn't completely talk. Yeah. You stop by the entrance nearest to Tamika's haven. She keeps walking without as much as a word or glance in your direction. She stops after several paces and turns back toward you. I'm sorry. Thank you for coming with me. But now I have a lot of shit to figure out. Once I do, I'll let you know. And with that, she disappears among the trees, seeing no point in sticking around. You take your leave. I realize a lot of these characters are sad. Like, Tamika's sad because, you know, yeah. And, I mean, I guess it's the vampiric tragedy. Next up, my boy. You make your way through the now familiar, rusty maze of the grain terminal and up the stairs to D'Angelo's office. This time, however, you find the room firmly locked. There's a note pinned to the door. You rip it off and scan the crooked lettering. There's been another one. At the scene now, come to Bedsu, corner of Pelski and Garvey, ASAP. Looks like D'Angelo could use your help. Better get going. I keep calling him Angelo by accident. I keep forgetting the D. As you approach the address D'Angelo gave you, a squad car passes by, sirens blurring. Following it, you make a turn from the Club Avenue onto Pelksi Street? I can't pronounce these. Sure enough, the street is awash with red light and the 4 or so police cars parked on the nearest corner. Next to an ambulance, confirm that you're in the right place. You move closer to what appears to be New York's finest convention, looking around in hopes of spotting a familiar, if not altogether a pleasant face. No such luck. True to his Nosferatu lineage, D'Angelo is nowhere to be seen. He's probably using obfuscate? Obfuscate? Is that how you say it? Just like what Gary did last stream, even though last stream ended abruptly. I still wanted to explore more of Chinatown, damn it. But like I said, I made a promise I don't really do half streams anymore, like 0.5 streams. I mean, I'll do it if it's like towards the end of the game, but I won't do it like if it's nowhere near the end of the game. You stop on the sidewalk across the street. Try not to draw attention to yourself. All of a sudden, one of the cops standing by the entrance to the building looks straight at you. He does a double take and instinctively look away. Bad move, you think to yourself, as you notice him making his way towards you. Calmly wait for him to approach. Not allowing panic to set in, you stand your ground, doing your best ordinary citizen impression. The cop waddles across the street towards you, his sense of authority putting the extra spring in his step. You try to remain calm, even as he puts his hand on his holster. Shit, you can't help but mouth the word. This is about to get messy. Suddenly he stops, as if instinctively realizing that he was just inches away from a gnarly demise. He waves at you dismissively and yells in a thick Brooklyn accent. I don't know a Brooklyn accent, so I'm not even gonna try. Hey, this here is an active crime scene. Be on your way. You leave but not trying to show it. You put on your grumpy New Yorker face and start to walk away. As you make your way past a dark alleyway, someone grabs you by the arm, pulls you into the shadows. If the smell of cigars and cheap cologne didn't give him away, the gravelly voice sure does. Nice save. I mean, dumb to show your face around here in the first place, but still. Like I said, I feel like I'm accidentally doing voice acting. Come on, I'm parked around the corner. Before you know it, you're sitting in the passenger seat of a busted old sedan, parked half a block away, giving you a nice view of the police gathering. No, I'm not gonna be greedy. Like, I didn't feed on the teenagers because there were 2 of them, and now a group of cops. Yeah, no. Why don't I talk to them? I might convince them to let us in. He gives you a look as if you just let rip a massive fart. Right. Look, kid. It's not that I don't trust you, but how about we give that raw animal magnetism of yours a dry run, huh? Why don't you want me to use my presence? Pretend I'm one of the cops guarding the entrance. Convince me to let you in. Evening, officers. You might not notice, but I am in fact... Wait! No! I've just used my unholy powers of persuasion on your feeble mind. Why don't you piggies go grab yourself a donut and fuck off for a while, Kvix? Well, okay then. I guess that might work. See? Nothing to it. Fair enough. Go get him, Tiger. Yeah, Mary Jane. Oh, I thought I was saying that to a cause, that's why I was panicking. I'll stay close by just in case things go south. Get out of the car, slamming the door a bit too loudly for your own good. As you cross the street, you already feel like you've made a big mistake. Oh well, too late to run back now. Might as well give it your best shot. As you approach the cops, your body tenses up. It's funny that this would make you nervous, considering all you've seen these past few nights, and yet it does. The 2 officers seem to be engaged in a heated debate regarding last night's Mets game. You stop just a few steps away and open your mouth. Whatever's about to come out, it better be good. And then, just as you're about to weasel your way into their unsuspecting minds, you freeze. One of the cops notices you and gives you a slight nod. Yeah, hey, if you're going in, make sure you stay away from 209, active crime scene, you know? And with that, they get back to arguing, whether or not the umpire was bought and paid for or not. Utterly confused, you piece together what's left of your senses and hurry past them. Inside the building, D'Angelo stands in the hallway, dumbfounded. As you open your mouth, he stops you with a gesture. Don't even talk to me right now. In awkward silence, you both make your way to the 2nd floor. His gift, our fate. Finding the crime scene proves easy enough. You just follow the yellow police tape, and before you know it, you're standing in the middle of what used to be someone's living room. The place has been completely trashed, knocked over furniture, shattered glass, the works. Looking around, you notice a sign scribbled on a nearby wall. It reads, "His gift, our fate." You're no expert in typography, but the crooked letters look similar to the ones you saw back in Red Hook. Sure enough, there's very little in terms of blood, save for the occasional stain that's bound to end up on the carpet once you toss someone through a glass table. D'Angelo leans against the doorway. He seems lost in his thoughts, sucking on his cigar compulsively and mumbling to himself. I probably need to feed at some point though, so I hope I get a feeding opportunity the next time I run into someone. You lean over a bit Trying not to make it obvious that you're listening in, you managed to catch the last few words of his monologue. The night's been kind to them so far, but the question kept piling on, and now they found themselves amidst the wreckage of another life. It was up to them to sift through the debris and come up with a neat pile of answers. Suddenly he tenses up, as if sensing your eyes upon him. Feel free to chip in, kid. Anything catch your eye? His gift, our fate. Yeah, there's that. What do you think it means? His gift. There's a theory that Cain was the first Isn't there a theory that Cain was the first vampire? Oh, it's more than a theory. To some, it's a deeply held belief. And yeah, you're right. It's about the gift of Cain, as in vampirism, our fate. Clearly, someone wasn't too happy to receive it. God damn it. I hate where this is going. Why, it looks like you were right. Which is me being right about thin blood involvement, I mean. Anyway, looks like we're not getting any more out of this place. Are you sure it was a thin blood? Someone could just be framing thin bloods, so the Primogen could lose his job. No way around it. We gotta see the body. In for a penny, in for a penny, in for a pound. Might as well be prudent. My thoughts exactly. Thus won't have it bad as it is. If I'm gonna accuse one of them breaching the Masquerade, I want solid evidence, and I mean rock fucking solid. Luckily for us, I might know someone who could get us an audience with our dearly departed. To your surprise, he pulls out a cell phone, a busted old clamshell. He flips it open and spends a good minute browsing through the contacts, muttering to himself. Finally, he makes a call. Hey, you know who this is? Yeah, the favor you owe me? Time to deliver. Listen, I know you got a fresh one. The murder in Bedsoy. I need to look. Wait, I need to take a look. Yes, now. Yeah, you'd better. With that, he hangs up and gives you his trademark weird smile. Wait, aren't cell phones an issue for the Camarilla? Only if you tell him. Listen, kid, I don't use it willy-nilly, alright? It's for special occasions. You don't always have time to toss fucking rocks at windows. Can you live with that? Or should I worry about being sent to the principal's office? No problems. It's probably just gonna... Vampire bodies are a lot more durable than human bodies, and they could use their blood to heal. You know how I was using disciplines earlier? I was using my blood to use my discipline. And if you watch me play Bloodlines yesterday, you saw I was using potents and other vampire abilities, and you saw the red gauge going down. Those were my blood points. I used blood points to use my abilities, but in this world, which is set in V5, they use hunger dice or rouse rolls. So vampires could use blood to heal their bodies. So, but overall their bodies are a lot more durable than a human body. Depends on thin bloods, like thin bloods could have the thin blood merit of vampire resilience. In the World of Darkness, there's two types of damage. Superficial damage and aggravated damage. Superficial damage, if I were to make a comparison, think of you getting scratched. Probably. Anything... a superficial damage is if you're, like, getting scratched. Like, it hurts, but it's not gonna kill you. Aggravated damage is like you getting stabbed. For vampires, most aggravated damage for humans is superficial damage for vampires. There's also the caitiffs. Caitiffs are technically randomized vampires. Like, their disciplines could be randomized. They don't have they don't have a clan weakness. Some caitiffs have, you could get a merit called Sun Scarred, where the sun could give you superficial damage. But yeah, even then, that's not a good way to negate sun damage, because it's only for a while, and after that you start taking damage regularly, but it's only half damage. Thin Bloods have the superficial sunlight damage naturally, or you could get a merit where you don't take damage from the sun at all. A regular vampire takes aggravated damage from the sun. No problems. If it's my ass, I'm throwing yours under the bus. Well, shit. Good thing I didn't show you where I keep my cookie jar. I mean, pipe bombs produce heat and fire, right? So yeah. Anyway. Looks like my guy's gonna come through. Next up, King's Country. King's Country, the bleeding heart of Brooklyn. It's beating as hard as ever, with ambulance after ambulance bringing in sick and wounded New Yorkers to be pumped through the tight arteries of the healthcare system. It's a dangerous place for a kindred to show their face. Incessantly crowded and full of people who specialize in noticing all sorts of different afflictions. Especially the sort that make up the very essence of a vampire's existence. For instance, death. Thankfully, your business here tonight keeps you away from the hectic human hive of the ER. Instead, you follow D'Angelo to a relatively quiet part of the underground parking lot that's closest to your current point of interest, the Kings County Morgue. Having found yourself a convenient and suitably unlit spot near the hospital wall, you patiently wait for D'Angelo's contact to appear. Every now and then, you glance over at the undead gumshoe, as if to make sure his moldy mug isn't showing any signs of worry. It isn't. Or at least he's very good at hiding it. Oh yeah, if you didn't notice, the games mentioned it. D'Angelo's and Nosferatu, you know, the ugly looking vampires. Finally, after 30 or so, a lone figure emerges from a side entrance as the human-shaped shadow walks by. You're quick to recognize him as the EMT you saw at the murder site. Who would win, vampires versus Abrams? That's a weapon, right? I mean, guns could still... I mean, the thing is, in the World of Darkness, if you deal enough superficial damage, you could still die. But it's gonna take a lot. Like, vampires could still die to guns, but it's gonna take a while for them to die to guns. Probably need to shoot them a couple of times. Probably easier to use a flamethrower, because, you know, vampires are inherently weak to fire. Clearly nervous. The 20-something-year-old redhead can't seem to help but look back and make sure no one is following him. Finally, he stops and lights up a cigarette, without even looking in your direction. He takes a puff and exclaims, seemingly to no one in particular, "Room 112. You got 20 minutes. Yeah, they'll die. They could probably take a lot of damage from a tank, or probably even die if that shell is explosive. If a vampire takes enough damage, they go into torpor. You know, sleep. Ageless sleep. D'Angelo speaks without looking at you. That's our cue. You follow the Fang detective through the same door the EMT walked out of, Luckily, his wing of the hospital seems unusually empty. Still, the confidence with which D'Angelo makes his way through the white and green corridor makes it clear he's been here before. Finally, he stops in front of one of the doors. Room 112. That's your stop. The room is small, with only one oversized freezer by the wall. Oh yeah, I forgot another weakness that Uriel gave Kane. His body temperature is cold. The room is small. Oh, wait, I already read that. Sure enough, the body of a middle-aged man is splayed out on its still surface. Even for a dead man, he seems unnaturally pale. Extreme bloodlust will do that to you. Try as you might, you can't help but look at the man's face, his features twisted in abject horror. This was not a peaceful death. Looking closely, you notice 2 small puncture wounds on the victim's neck. Well, when they mean cold, they mean by they mean like corpse cold. But the thing is, vampires have these things called have a humanity gauge. If there's 7 or more humanity, they could have a brush of life. Like they could replicate heartbeats, they could replicate having a breath, they could replicate producing bodily fluids. Because vampires don't produce waste. Like, they don't... I mean, they can vomit. Like, if they eat human food, they can vomit. I guess. Because, that's gonna do stuff for them. But also, some vampires who don't have the merit of lifelike, or, don't have the eat food merit or high humanity, food just tastes like ash to them. Oh yeah, that was also Uriel's curse. That, Kane can't eat. Uriel was really hateful. Like, he gave so much curses to Kane. Looking over at D'Angelo, you notice his lips moving in a similar fashion. He's narrating again. Before he can utter an intelligent word, you cut in with a remark. Sucked dry, just like the last one. Yeah, I'm guessing you noticed the teeth marks as well. He points at the barely visible marks on the victim's neck. Also, for thin bloods, there's a flaw called baby teeth, meaning they never develop fangs, so they have to find another way to drink blood. Like in the tabletop, you could essentially make a thin blood more human than vampire or more vampire than human. It's up to the player. Dead giveaway. Fuck. As if on cue, the door swings open. A tired-looking man with a stethoscope around his neck walks in, with his eyes fixed on his clipboard. He doesn't appear to notice you yet. Letting your instincts take over, you pounce on the unsuspecting doctor, plunging your fangs into his aorta. The precious liquid tastes sickeningly sweet, making you feel a bit lightheaded. It appears the good doctor has been getting high on his own supply. Takes you a moment to get your fill, but when you're finally done, you immediately feel D'Angelo's eyes upon you. You start coming up with an excuse, but he just smirks. You're quick, kid. I'll give you that. Beat me to it by a pube. Okay, I'm gonna explain something to you, because you don't know much about Vampire the Masquerade. When a vampire drinks of a human, the human experiences something called the kiss. Meaning, it's not painful for the human when you feed off them. I mean, it could be. But the kiss gives the human a feeling of bliss when you bite into them. It's like a way of mercy. Like, you don't want to hurt the human. And when they're in when when the mortal is feeling the kiss, they can pass out, and when they wake up, they forget everything. Come now, let's get out of here. Time to pay our dear Primogen another visit. Robert Larson's home looks about the same as last time. No added security, no angry dogs prowling the yard. It appears that the thin-blood Primogen would rather risk another visit from his old pal D'Angelo than to arouse suspicion of his family and neighbors. Which is good, considering that's what he's about to get. Sure enough, the light in Larson's study is on, and you even catch a glimpse of the man inside, shuffling around the room. You look over to D'Angelo, wondering how you're going to get Larson's attention this time. Without a single word, D'Angelo walks over to the nearby street lamp and leans against it, making sure he's visible to any and all who happen to look. Looks like time for his solidity is over. It only takes a couple of minutes for Larson to take notice. You see him lean against the window, storm out of the room in mere seconds. He's out in front and in D'Angelo's face. Listen to me, you moldy fuck. I've had about enough of your shit. You wanna pester me, fine, but leave my family out of it. For a moment, D'Angelo just stands there, motionless, allowing Larson to get his frustrations out. Suddenly he grabs the thin blood by the collar, lifts him off the ground, and smashes his back against a lamppost. Are you finished? Alright. Now you listen to me, and listen good. You think I'm enjoying this? You think I like being jerked around? You think I got nothing better to do than hang around this little puppet theater you made for yourself? Now, either you give me a lead I can follow, or I'll start remembering things you'd rather forget. For the first time since you met him, Larson looks speechless, his eyes wide with fear. He can only mutter under his breath, "You wouldn't dare. Try me." Cue awkward silence. You stand there, shifting your eyes from one vampire to the other. Guess it's time to either press the advantage or play the good cop. Look, we're all stressed out. How about we all just take a deep breath, figuratively speaking? Nah, I don't feel like it. I tried being nice, but some people don't appreciate nice. Some people will do anything to cover their asses. Isn't that right, Robert? If you want my help, put me the fuck down. With his feet back on the ground, Larson straightens his collar in a faint attempt at preserving some shred of dignity. There's a place in Manhattan, Lower East End, one of the few places in the city where my people can find shelter. Yeah, I know. If you go there right now, you might find what you're looking for. D'Angelo stares at him for a moment, just long enough to make it uncomfortable. We'd better. Finally, D'Angelo loses his grip. You both watch Larson limp back to his house, looking back over his shoulder like he's gotta tell the teacher on you. You look to your partner, meaning to ask that whole things you'd rather forget deal was. As if sensing your curiosity, D'Angelo cuts in and with a preemptive mutter. Come now. We got what we came for. As you reach the address Larson gave you, you find yourself standing in front of what looks like an old garage. On the outside, the place looks uninteresting as it gets. You think it abandoned, if not for a few barely working lights illuminating its shabby facade. Once you're inside, however, if there was any place worthy of being called a wretch hive of scum and villainy, this is probably it. The room is littered with drunks and crackheads, human and thin blood alike, their minds lost in their cruel little worlds. their bodies splayed out across the floor. D'Angelo leans over and whispers in your ear. I'll cover the back door. You stay near the front. Let's look around and see what we can find. Before you can ask what exactly you're supposed to be looking for, D'Angelo disappears into the shadows. Doing your best to blend in with the crowd, which is fairly difficult considering your upright position, you slowly make your way across the large room. Not really knowing what you're looking for, you focus on the details, a knowing smirk, a hateful stare, anything that looks even the slightest bit suspicious. After a dozen or so empty stares, you're almost ready to give up, then suddenly, something catches your eye. A young skinny woman hunched over in the corner of the room. She gives you a bewildered look, a 1,000-yard stare that tells you beyond a shadow of doubt it's her. As you walk towards her, D'Angelo emerges from the shadow right next to you. Nice catch. He kneels down beside her. You can tell he's trying to sound as comforting as possible, but with his gravelly timbre, it's really not working out. Hey, it's okay. We're not here to hurt you. We just want to talk. No, don't talk. Too loud, too loud. She seems halfway out of it. It's like the lights are on, but who's ever inside is stumbling around after one hell of a bender. Alright, you like quiet? Got it. Can you tell me your name? Sana. Sana? That's what he called me. Hold on. Okay. Suddenly, you hear the door open behind you. You even thought the night is fairly warm. A cold chill runs down your spine. Even though the... Wait, let me reread that. Even though the night is fairly warm, a cold chill runs down your spine. You look towards the entrance. There's a woman standing there, and something about her just screams kindred. Even though she seems comically overdressed for the situation somehow, you don't feel like cracking a smile. Whoever she is, you can tell she means business. She starts making her way to the back of the room, not making any effort to sidestep any of the junkies and drunks. They all know well enough to get out of her way. Acting out of bravery or sheer stupidity, you walk up to her. She looks at you as if you were something she just scraped off her shoe. You smile nervously, without even knowing it. Hello there, who might you be? As soon as you open your mouth, her hand shoots out, grabbing you by the throat. The woman looks at you, tilting her head, as if examining a curious species of insect. Suddenly her eyes shift as she notices something behind you. Her face turns from disgusted curiosity to sheer annoyance. You. Hey Val, that's my assistant you got there. Do you mind? She rolls her eyes. You feel the grip on your shoulder. You feel the grip on your neck loosen, and you awkwardly fall to your feet. She makes her way towards D'Angelo, pushing you aside like a ragdoll. Valerie. Where's she? You gotta be a lot more specific. You gotta have to be a bit more specific, darling. Don't play coy, Jeannie. The manslayer. I know she's here. A blood hunt has begun. By order of the prince herself, the girl is to meet her final death. Okay. Blood hunt. A punishing sentencing of vampire to final death at the fangs of their peers. The code of the kindred and system for punishing transgressions is the law of retaliation. Hold your horses, honey. I'm conducting an investigation under the auspice of the sheriff. That counts for something, too. Look, sweetie, I'm not here for some clit massaging contest. You want this to get ugly? Be my guest. Otherwise, I suggest you step aside and let me do my job. By all means. He steps aside in a comically exaggerated fashion. You look at the corner where he's last saw Sana, but find no trace of the girl. Well, I could swear she was just here. Valerie looks at D'Angelo. She smiles softly. You can tell she's trying very hard not to rip off his head. You'll regret this. Story of my life. Without another word, she turns on her heel and storms out. D'Angelo waves his head in your general direction. Come on, kid. Let's get out of this shithole. As you emerge from said shithole, you feel the cool night breeze caress your face. It's soothing and almost makes you forget how shitty the last few hours have been. Almost. Okay, kid. I know you've got questions, but it's getting early, and I don't feel like having a Q&A session right now. For now, you get one question. Make it count. Valerie, huh? Who the hell is she? She's a scourge. She's a scourge, kid. Part enforcer, part assassin, all-round pain in the ass. Scourge. An executor. Subordinated directly to the prince. Yeah, they're technically almost like sheriffs, but they're not. They're doing jobs that are sometimes out of the sheriff's jurisdiction or whatever. They hunt Dampiers, but in V5, Dampiers have only been hinted at. If she finds that girl before we do, we'll never find out why she did what she did. And before you ask, we ran into each other in the past. No, I don't feel like talking about it. Alright, kid. I don't know about you, but I'm turning in. I'll figure some stuff out and keep looking for our girl. Feel free to swing by the office in a night or two. And with that, he stumbles off into the distance, not even bothering to keep to the shadows. Can't say that you blame him. It really has been a rough night. As you open the blinds, you're able to spot a small grayish bird flying off into the night. Looking down, you notice a small piece of paper in the windowsill. Prospect, ASAP, Tam. Third time's the charm, you think to yourself, as you once again cross the gate of Prospect Park and head for Tamika's haven. To your surprise, you find her out in the open, sitting on the lawn, surrounded by a host of woodland creatures, birds and squirrels mostly. The critters each patiently await their turn as she flicks seeds at them. It looks almost whimsical in a twisted sort of way. Hell of a week, huh? How are you holding up? Well enough, all things considered. She scatters the remaining seeds onto the grass and hops to her feet. I've been doing some digging. The Inquisition has a safe house up in Manhattan. I think that's where they're keeping him. The scarred one, I mean. I want to pay them a visit. Kill that thing and as many of those SI bastards as I can along the way. Is it really worth it? I know you want revenge for your sister, but at the very least, it's a clear violation of the Masquerade. Yeah, and that's the least of our worries. Throw in a legion of armed goons standing in our way, and an all-powerful vampire as a cherry on top. But there's more to it than just revenge. I think it could help me find out who I really am. I know it sounds corny, but I can't really explain it better than that. Trust me, I'm not taking this lightly. It's just something I have to do, with or without you. Just out of curiosity, does Raoul know about this master plan of yours? He does now. He emerges from the shadows, a mere few feet from you. Son of a gun finally managed to sneak up on you. Tamika eyeballs him as he gets closer. You've seen that look before. She's clearly asserting her position, but this time it comes off as a formality rather than an actual challenge. How long have you been there, Raoul? Long enough. I'm still not buying the whole scarred one bullcrap, but taking a bite out of the Inquisition's collective ass is just too good to pass up. I want in. Believe it or not, just be ready for it. Better believe it, I was there, saw it with my own eyes. I'm sure you saw something. Whether or not it was the literal boogeyman they scare young pharaohs with is a whole different story. And with no due respect, you're hardly a fucking expert on the subject. Now, can we move this along? I'm itching to kill some SI fucks. Tamika, you got an opinion? Huh. Guess I know who the alpha is around here. He should come with us. He's got the right to be there, to see the scarred one with his own eyes. Plus, my brother can be a pain in the ass, but he's one hell of a fighter. There you go. Tam's seal of approval. It's settled then. Let's go. Fucking finally. With that, you leave the relative safety of Prospect Park, steeling yourself for things to come. As you get closer to your destination, you get the sneaking suspicion that Tamika's been pulling your leg. Following her lead, you take a turn from Broadway into Fort Tryon Park. It doesn't seem to make sense. You think to yourself, there's only one spot between here and the Hudson River, but it can't be, can it? Sure enough, as the stone facade of the Cloisters come into view, Tamika motions at you to keep out of sight. How the hell is this well-known tourist trap a hideout for the Second Inquisition? Wait, isn't this place a tourist attraction? Only during the day. At night, it serves as a staging ground for the Inquisition. If my sources are to be trusted, and usually are, they brought him here for what they call processing. Doubt they'll keep him here for long, though. If we want to get to him, it's now or never. As if on cue, a group of armed guards walk out of this museum, pushing a gurney with a large steel container on top of it. As they wheel it out into the open, a truck approaches. The operatives start preparing to load the crate into a vehicle. You scan the area, trying to take a head count. Tamika beats you to it. I count at least 7, probably more inside. We should do this quickly and take them out one by one. Raoul frowns. I say we go in guns blazing, figuratively speaking. If there are more inside, let them come. The more the merrier. Yeah, I do want to get into Raoul's good side too. For once I agree with Raoul. We should do this quick and painful. Take them out before they even know what hit them. Works for me. Of all things you could be bonding over, this is what you're going with? Fine, let's do it your way. Hopefully we didn't kill off Raoul. We stroll through the front gate, like 3 desperados, about to clean up the town. You look over at Tamika walking on your right, and hear Raoul let out a subdued growl on your left. As expected, the guardsmen immediately turn to you. 3 of them start walking over towards you. rifles at half-mast. You can tell they're not exactly sure what to make of you. You catch movement in your corner of your right eye. Before you can tell what happened, Tam is standing on top of a dead SI operative, her claws dripping with blood. Raoul follows suit, lunging at the goon to your left, slashing away at his face. The man lets out a blood-curdling scream as his face turns into mincemeat. The third guard gives you a panicked look. It's now or never. Deciding that it's not the time to mess around, you slash at the man's neck with your fangs. They cut through his artery with scalpel-like precision. Blood gushes out, forming a red ribbon that hangs in the air for a split second. It splatters beneath your feet, just as the body hits the ground. What a waste. Looking to the side, you notice Raoul looking back at you. He nods, almost semi-impressed. Apparently able to learn from one another's mistakes, the 4 remaining guards take aim and open fire. The air to your right starts to shift. You look over, expecting to see Tamika, but she's nowhere to be seen. Oh crap. Okay. The air to your right starts to shift. You look over expecting to see Tamika, but she's nowhere to be seen. Instead, you catch a glimpse of a black wolf-like creature. It leaps through the air and lands on top of one of the gunsmen, clutching its jaws on his throat. You don't have time to check up on Raoul, but judging by the highly unpleasant gargling noises coming from your left, you're guessing he's already taken care of another guard. 2 down, 2 to go. One of the remaining guards aims right at you. You feel a slight jolt of pain as the bullet grazes your ear. Whatever you're gonna do, better do it fast. As your muscles tense up like steel wires, you leap towards the air, able to cover the distance between you and the guard in a single bound. Next thing you know, you're standing over his crumpled frame. The smell of fresh blood fills your nose and sets you on edge. Finally, just as you're left with but one foe, 3 more guards spring out from inside the museum. Clearly alarmed by the commotion, they come at you, guns raised. One of them aims at Tamika, who just emerged from her animal form, clearly worn out. She kneels down, trying to catch her breath. The other one points his gun at Raoul, who is having a bit too much fun finishing off what's left of the courtyard guards. Neither of them knows what's coming. No time to take care of both threats. Before you know it, you find yourself almost flying through the air. I think Raoul dies. Almost flying through the air straight toward one of the gunsmen. He's dead before he falls to the ground. The other one opens fire in controlled bursts, catching Raoul in the open. Driven by sheer instinct, he goes down on all fours and leaps to the side, trying to get out the line of fire. You don't think you've ever seen anyone move that fast. Still, it's not enough. Raoul lets out a grunt of pain as he stumbles onto the dirt. A ferocious roar echoes across the courtyard as Tamika jumps onto the guard. Yeah, I shouldn't have tried to impress Raoul. To the guardsman. An agonizing scream follows as she plunges her claws into the man's eyes. She then turns to Raoul, her hand drenched in blood. Are you alright? He staggers to his feet, pressing his hand onto the wound on his arm. I'll live, figure of speech. Dead silence falls onto the battlefield. The 3 of you exchange tired glances. Is it over? Suddenly you hear a quiet sob in this silence. It might as well have been a gunshot. In an instant, you all turn towards it and notice the last surviving guard standing by the container. Looks like you missed one. Paralyzed with fear, He keeps shifting his aim from you to Tamika to Raoul. He's severely fucked and he knows it. And since you're standing closest to him, you might as well do the honors. You walk over to the quivering mess that mere minutes ago thought himself the toughest of the tough. Before he can react, you slap the gun out of his hands, lean in, and smile. Hi. Sounds like something I'd do. Half a second later, your fangs are already halfway to his windpipe. The blood tastes sour with a hint of cowardice and regret. Could have gone out with a bang. Chose to go out with a gurge. Oh well. With the SI operative taken care of, you turn your attention to the container sitting in the middle of the courtyard. Using your combined strength, you make quick work of the steel door. As you walk in, the moonlight from behind you illuminates the twisted figure huddled on the floor. It's hard to believe that the thing lying before you, beaten and tortured within an inch of its unlife, is the same creature you fought back at the cemetery. What the fuck is that thing? Why, it's a boogeyman, Raoul. Turns out he's real. Who knew, huh? His lips move silently, as if searching for the right words. He looks to you, then to his sister, as if waiting for a sign. For a moment, Tamika just stands there. She looks down at the scarred one, the once fearful boogeyman, whose very mention could strike terror in the hearts of her tribe, now reduced to a whimpering pile of flesh. Finally, she turns to you with a look of childish innocence mixed with confusion. Then she looks back at the scarred one. You could tell she's lost. Tam? What the hell are you waiting for? Let's kill this thing and get out of here. This is your choice. I can't make it for you. She turns to you with a look of pride mixed with desperation. I'm not asking you to. Do it, Tam. You know he deserves it. Hell, looks like you'll be doing him a favor. Whatever you do, there will be consequences. Do what you will. Just be ready to live with the consequences. Suddenly, the very air around you seems to thicken. You look over to Tamika. She's not quivering anymore. She walks up to the scarred one. The pitiful creature presses itself into the corner in a desperate and futile attempt to crawl away. Without a word, she grabs the creature by the ear, sinking her claws in the side of its head. She looks it dead in the eye. Her voice is surprisingly warm, almost soothing. You can rest now, brother. In one fluid motion, she twists his neck off his shoulders. The slopping sound is both sickening and satisfying. The empty husk of the once fearful beast falls to the floor like a slab of meat. Jesus, damn. What the hell was that? Hopefully, some closure. Standing outside the steel container, the three of you take a moment to gather your thoughts. You look at one another, at the blood staining your hand. Wait. You look at one another, at the blood staining your hands, clothes, and faces in the pale moonlight. It appears black and shiny, like a fresh ink stain on a fresh sheet of paper. Without another word, you head toward the city lights. The journey back takes longer than it did The journey back takes longer than it did in the other direction. What? With bits and pieces of the Second Inquisition still stuck to your clothes, you decide to play it safe by sticking to the back alleys and cutting through the dark corners of the city. Tamika stays several feet ahead. Both you and Raoul are quite content to follow her lead. You can tell that these last few nights have taken a toll on her, but not necessarily in a bad way. She seems stronger, somehow, confident, more in tune with herself. Soon the awkward silence proves unbearable enough that you're willing to risk making small talk with Raoul. I'm not sure what happened back there. You think she's gonna be alright? Yeah, I think so. She's got to figure some stuff out. Our lineage. We have a special relationship with the beast. We can either let it control us or become attuned to it. It's a constant struggle, marked with difficult choices. I think Tam just made one of them. Pondering what you just heard, the rest of the trip barely registered. To your surprise, you suddenly find yourself back at Prospect. Tamika keeps walking. She strides through the park gate like a queen of old, returning after victorious conquest. You want to call out to her, but Raoul stops you with a gesture. Not yet. Give her some time to process all this shit. She'll let you know when she's ready. And, hey, you did alright. I mean, don't get me wrong, you're still an asshole, but yeah, thanks. He smiles at you. Wonders never cease. See you around. And with that, he follows in his sister's footsteps. A weird smile creeps onto your face as you melt into the New York night. Kadir Al-Asamai? I still can't pronounce his name. The sheriff of New York is knocking at the door of to your haven. The sight comes as more than a little shocking. If he had business with you, you'd expect to see him already inside, or never see him coming at all. Yet here he is on the other side of the peephole, patiently and politely waiting for you to let him in. You carefully unlock the door and face him in silence. Evening, may I come in? You simply stare at him. Your lack of an answer doesn't faze him, and your lack of resistance as he starts walking inside has obviously been interpreted as a permission. Once inside, he starts looking around as you cautiously stay by the door. Haven't really had a time to make this your place yet, have you? It feels like Laneling's apartment through and through. A secluded study where nobody studies anything. Look at the books on the shelf, obviously meant to impress guests, not to be read. They reveal nothing about their owner, aside from the aching desire to be taken seriously as an intellectual. He picks one of them and smirks before putting it away. The phenomenology of spirit. Next to all this garbage poetry, we can make a bet. If she read more than 20 pages, I owe you $20 and a gallon of blood. The kind of place that self-professed hermits entomb themselves into suffer. Considering how much you have to run around these nights, you probably only use it to shelter from the sun and rest, right? Even though he's obviously making an effort to come off as non-threatening, it's impossible to forget the first impression he made. You still see him as a fierce predator, trying hard not to expose his true colors. You sense a familiar fight-or-flight response as you struggle to find a diplomatic answer to his question. If Gutierrez is bothered by your silence, he doesn't let it show. He keeps walking around, toying with whatever catches his eye. Eventually, he speaks up again. Watch any baseball lately? If I had to guess, you strike me as a Red Sox fan. Now he's inviting you to talk in a more direct manner. You attempt to overcome your physical reaction to him and reply as casually as you can. Really? Your mind keeps going back to that night, when everything has changed forever. Waking up in hell with a body next to you, spending a night in the underground sweatbox, unsure of what will happen next. The endless car ride, 3 strikes, a bloodthirsty crowd, that blade, a rebirth, a baptism by fire, a frightening executor who made executor like the Pokemon? Who made sure the flames scarred your spirit. As you look into his face, you realize he's read the emotions from yours. Not in the mood to exchange pleasantries, huh? There's no animosity in his face. He's just stating a fact. Let me get straight to the point then. He momentarily stops caring about his surroundings, turning all of his attentions to you, and demanding the entirety of your attention in return. You see, there's something I've realized over the years. In large part, I may have been hired just to look menacing with a sword, but my job is all about seeing through bonds and relationships. The Camarilla would be safe as long as its members adhere to certain social constructs, making their dealings and affinities plain for everyone to see. But that obviously remains a pipe dream. This is a community of born conspirators, overly ambitious gangsters and politicians, monsters in denial, or all sorts of tragically broken individuals. They are given by desires that make them incompatible with a masquerade, incompatible with prolonging survival of the Camarilla, incompatible with the methods I used to operate. And so I am doomed to be like a cop, constantly insulted behind my back, maybe for a good reason, but immediately called for help whenever someone loses their tableware. Or like an Agatha Christie protagonist, outwardly assisted by everyone, but constantly lied to about everyone's pasts and motivations, even if my failure to solve the mystery might be the end of us all. He tries to sound like he's peacefully resigned to his fate, but it's easy to detect a tinge of regret in his voice. A voice belonging to someone who once had bigger ambitions than this. What broke him? So you see, for this detective, the whodunit is far more important than who did it or how did it. When you understand all the players and their mutual obligations, you easily understand every crime. But of course the kindred know it. So they devise ways to make my job much harder. Just like conspiracies between two unrelated actors that depend on scratching each other's backs for mutual security. Or they enforce a blood bond to make someone unexpected their thrall. A boss serving their employee, a rebel serving a tyrant, just because one is regularly being forced to drink another's blood. Blood bond. Oh yeah, the crone also taught Cain how to make blood bonds. A mystically enforced relationship between a vampire and another immortal or kindred. Drinking the blood of a vampire directly from the vein 3 times creates an intense loyalty in the drinker, resembling infatuation or obsession. The bond loses its grip with time, but is enforced by repeated drinks from the donor vampire. What has Sophie seen in you? Why does the prince keep asking me about your actions? How come you're being pushed to build your own coterie so fast? You're surrounded by unclear motivations, which you yourself don't understand. That unnerves me, and should unnerve you as well. Oh, and what are your motivations? Finally, you manage to raise your voice. Gautier notices the effort and smiles softly. So, you haven't gone mute since the last time I saw you. Good. Well, I'm here for a selfish reason. I need to develop a repertoire with you to better fulfill my obligations. The last time we met, I couldn't see you as my equal. Now that you've been accepted into Camarilla, what choice do I have? I'd understand if you didn't want to see my face again, but I'm one of the faces of the New York City community. As long as you're part of it, it's going to be impossible to avoid me. Especially when I have business with you, and I do. As you might have guessed by now, one of my tasks is uncovering and understand our bonds, and one of them might endanger our community. Well, that's not menacing at all. Who is he talking about? Is this about Sophie? Gautier shakes his head. Sophie's fine. She's plotting something big. I know it, and she knows I know it. But she's treading carefully, as she should. No, they're not a major player. He produces a file from under his coat and passes it to you. This is our troublemaker. You open the file and see some printed photos. You freeze up as you recognize the face and are overwhelmed by a flood of repressed memories. Jessica Lowell, the woman who made the last few years of your life heaven and the last few weeks of you a living hell. Since she took pretty much everyone you knew with her after the split, you thought the transition to this life would be painless, no baggage at all. Have you thought wrong? Have you thought wrong? Look up at Coteries, expecting answers. There are some unfortunate rumors that you committed suicide after a messy breakup. So apparently Miss Jessica here is desperately mobilizing everyone she knows to look for you. Turns out she's contacted a lot of people who might recognize you, including some in law enforcement agencies. The risk of endangering us is relatively low, but far from non-existent. Which means she must be stopped. Must be stopped sounds threatening. You dread thinking what he's planning. I'll arrange for you to meet tomorrow, so that you can straighten a situation and say goodbye to the life you've forsaken. You arrange what? Your eyes must look like saucers right now. Usually these matters are left to my discretion, and I can't think of an easier solution. The lost sheep reappears, takes care of unfinished business, and disappears, never to be seen again. Nobody cares. It's simple. It's clean. No contrived schemes. No unnecessary victims. I'll just try to convince her, just like what I did with Samantha in Bloodlines. If I can't convince her, worst comes to worst. And it gives me an opportunity to learn more about you as I observe. When neonates interact with their kin, they used to hold dear. Their natures are laid bare for everyone to see. Of course, he's invested in being kind to you, or he's making clear his self-serving intentions, so that you don't start figuring them out yourself. Any objections? Any alternatives are possibly worse. You shake your head. Very well. I'll arrange a meeting and drive you there tomorrow. Better come up with a load of bull that's easy to swallow. Oh yeah, he does expect me to lie. Don't worry, I'll lie. He disappears from the apartment, leaving you as confused as last time he opened he closed the door on you. God damn it. You need to think it through. For a long time, you sit in your haven, lost in your thoughts, remembering how you once thought your world had ended with leaving her. Whining, sure, but seems like was wait, what? It seems like it was resistant whining. Knowing there are only so many places with good enough view of the Manhattan Bridge, you decide to check the ones that aren't likely to be crowded at this time of night. It doesn't take long before you hit the jackpot, Jane's Carousel. As you're walking along the pier, you notice a lonely figure sitting on the bench, still flask in hand, his legs up on the railing. Soon enough, you hear a familiar voice. Evening turned to night, and as the final flickering rays of sunlight gave way to the Kai nocturnal shadows, so did the last of the jabbering tourists give way to a blessed silence. And yet, I couldn't shake the feeling. Pausing mid-sentence, he leans back over the bench backrest and looks straight at you. Upside down, his face looks even creepier than usual. And I wasn't alone. The flask. Is that what I think it is? Depends on what you think. It's a little something from my private reserve. I call it a drunken sailor, because it's probably where it came from. He takes a sip, then points the flask in your general direction. Want some? Sure, why not? You take the flask and take a swig. It's blood, alright, mixed with flavored herbaceous substances, some of which you recognize, while others you probably don't want to know. That's the spirit. Now that we're good and moosied, there's something I've been meaning to tell you. There's been another killing. There's been another one. Killing, I mean. Down by the docks. Same MO? The blood, the graffiti? Yep. It was our gal, alright. Victim sucked dry, same as before. Another sign on the wall. Something about impending doom and oh lord, he coming. That particulars escaped me. You know, the night I saw her, she looked so frail, so innocent. Deep inside, I was hoping she'd be spooked, get out of town. That maybe, just maybe, that would be the end of it. But that's just me, you know, hopelessly optimistic. Do you have any idea where she might be? Sorry, kid. I'm fresh out of ideas. He raised the flask, refilling as we speak, and takes a swig, as if to illustrate a point. So anyway, I set up a meeting. Neutral ground, public space. Shouldn't get too ugly. Still, I was hoping you could tag along. Okay, so who are we meeting? He takes another compulsive swig. Better strap in, cause this one's a doozy. Oh, come on, it can't be that bad. Who are we meeting? Valerie. I'm sorry, I must have misheard you. Wanna try that again? I know how it sounds. Listen, kid. I know you two didn't exactly hit it off, but she's not as bad as you might think. I mean, in some respects, she's probably worse, but she can be reasoned with. Once again, he goes for the flask, but stops himself mid-motion. Look, the way I see it, we ain't got a choice. As much as I want to help Sana, she's clearly a few bets short of a belfry. More people are gonna die unless we do something about it. really think we could trust someone like Valerie? D'Angelo almost takes a spit take. Fuck no. But we can do business with her. I'm just worried that her price might be too steep for my liking. But then again, you don't always get what you want, huh? Noticeably proud of his words of wisdom, he tries to top them off with one last swig. A single drop falls between his crooked teeth. He looks at the empty flask with the utmost contempt. Well, ain't that fucking pregnant? Muttering a curse under his breath, he takes a vigilant effort to get off the bench. As he stutters, struggling to remain upright, you offer your shoulder to lean on. He shoots you a smile, that's as crooked as it is affectionate. Hey, kid. You met his gaze, trying to look friendly rather than condescending. You're right. And with the heartfelt moment, you bid adieu to the sprawling vista and make your way towards the bridge. Next stop, Manhattan. Entering the park from Midtown Manhattan, you promptly take a spot by one of the alleys, not very deep into the park. Minutes pass. 5, 10, 15. You start to wonder if she's even gonna show up. Suddenly you hear a familiar voice, but with an unfamiliar tone. She sounds almost nice. Hello, Jeannie. And there she is, walking along the side of the fountain. She looks out of place here. And back at the junkie-infested hovel, but only by a slight margin. Something tells me there are only so many places she would feel at home, and probably not ones you would want to find yourself in. Well, she glances over at you, barely noting your presence. Sorry about last time, nothing personal. You understand? When I get caught up in a moment, I get a bit intense. I can attest to that. Play nice, you two. We have some business to discuss. All work and no play, huh? Why not? She turns to D'Angelo and flutters her eyelashes. You can tell she doesn't see you as her equal, but this come-hitter routine is getting kind of unnerving. Lay it on me, sugar. We're here to talk about Sana. Who? Oh, right, the thin blood. What about her? The girl's a threat. We need to find her. Figured we can do it faster if we work together. Uh-huh. Keep going, honey. Because I have a feeling there's a catch coming. The catch is... Awkward silence. It's not often you see him at a loss for words. Seeing him struggle, you decide to jump in. You want the girl to stay alive. See now, that's a deal breaker right there, sugar. If you want me to even consider it, you'll have to sweeten the pot. Once again, she turns to D'Angelo. And I bet tall, dark, and handsome over here might have some ideas. I think she wants to get her hands in your cookie jar. They both look at you wide-eyed. I didn't think, no, I didn't mean that. No, wait, I didn't mean it like that. I mean, literally, not. Wait, what were we talking about? D'Angelo rolls his eyes hard. She wants a higher profile target to show off to the prince. What a good little scourge she is. That all you care about nowadays, huh? Playing the game? Climbing the ranks? A smile creeps onto her lips. You could tell it's forced. D'Angelo definitely knows how to get under her skin. That's my Jeannie. A big old brain and a heart to match. Once again, she turns to you. I I knew right away he'd try to help this girl. He does love him, a damsel in distress. I mean, didn't they say Nosferatu tend to be the more human-like clan, despite looking ugly? But you, I'm not sure what your angle is. I don't have an angle. It just seems like the right thing to do. Oh wow, seriously? Genie, you got yourself a live one. Good for you. So there, you know my terms. Contact me when you've made up your mind. Won't take too long though. I'm a lucky girl. I might just find your little thin blood on my own. Still, I hope we can work together. We did make a good team back in the day, didn't we? She slowly, seductively, she puts her arm around his shoulders. She glances over to you, clearly enjoying how awkward it makes you feel. B, you have some explaining to do. D, once this meeting's over, you'll have some explaining to do. You hear that, Genie? You're in some hot water now. Anyway, withdrawing from her strange half embrace, she flicks D'Angelo's nose gently with her index finger. Almost instantly, she turns from flirtatious to dispassionate. However this plays out, I have a feeling we'll meet again, sooner than later. Until then. Without sparing you another glance, she disappears down an unlit park alley. D'Angelo watches her go. The look on his face, a mixture of longing and guilt, is borderline comical. Finally, he turns back to you, as if breaking some spell he was under. Well, that could have gone a lot worse. Can you explain to me what just happened there? Here? She wants me to give her Larson. Wait, how does Larson have to do with any of this? He doesn't, not directly. It's just that he might have some less than admirable chapters in his bibliography. Might have done some pretty egregious shit. And Valerie knows a certain handsome someone might have evidence of said shit, which would allow her to bring him down, and bring down a primogen. Even one as lame as Larson is a pretty big deal. He squints, rubbing the bridge of his nose. Fuck it, I'm heading back to the office. Need to put my feet up, get some blood flowing to get the old noggin. Wait, get some blood flowing to the old noggin. You coming? You nod. Why the hell not? And so you make your way toward 5th Avenue. You've got a long way ahead of you and a lot of stuff to figure out. Though it's not your first visit, you still find it hard to navigate the dark, rust-ridden corners of the grain terminal. Luckily this time, you're with someone who could probably do this blindfolded, so you just follow his lead. As you're both climbing the rickety stairs leading to the mezzanine, you suddenly notice a light coming from D'Angelo's office. A quick look assures you that no, he did not in fact leave it on. You bust through the door like undead Tango and Hutch. Or was that Turner and Cash? Ready to unleash unholy fury on the invaders. You have expected an Anarch death squad or an SI hunting party. Instead, you get Larson, who nearly falls out of the chair when YouTubers in. Oh, look who it is! Missed us already? Hardly. Suddenly both intrigued and irritated by the surprise visit, D'Angelo walks over to a cabinet and pulls out a fresh cigar. Then may I ask what brings you here, oh venerable primogen, to my humble abode? Her. He points at a tiny shadow cowering in a corner of the room. To your astonishment, it turns out to be a very familiar face. The blood. No, not again, please. Where the hell did you find her? Outside my front door. She must have heard of me, found out where I lived. It's not uncommon knowledge among the Dustborn. She probably figured I could help, but honestly, I have no idea what to do with her. I mean, I could turn her into the prince, but that's just another strike against my people. And again, I can't set her loose. Not after what she did. Fuck D'Angelo, you can tell I'm desperate if my first instinct was to come to you. No, Larson. I would attribute that decision to what's left of your common sense. Please, over to you. Hey kid, I think we could call it a night. Just give me some time to talk to the girl. Maybe I'll get through to her somehow. The sign, it's always there. No, I'm not holding my breath. Honestly, you're glad to leave him to it. Spending the night in a small room with a tiny serial killer somehow doesn't seem too appealing. Still, you're hoping D'Angelo will be alright. He's got some tough choices ahead of him. Knock knock. You'd ask who's there, but you know if the sheriff of New York would play. You don't know if the sheriff of New York would play along. When you open the door, you see him toying with the car keys he's holding in his hand. Ready to go, fledgling? You don't feel like it, but you give him a nod, nevertheless. Excellent, stay close. He leads you down to the vehicle he's parked nearby. Once again, he takes the wheel, literally and figuratively. Everything inside is just the way you remember it, down to the rear view mirror reflecting the intense stare of your guide. However, the trip itself feels notably different. The last time Coteries drove you around, he was forcibly dragging you along from your past life, away from your past life. This time he's pulling you back into it. All the things you wanted to say to Jessica keep running through your head. Let me tell you how it's going to go. As I said, I've arranged a meeting between you and your kin. It's going to take place somewhere you should know very well. I'll watch over you two from a safe distance to make sure you adhere to the rules. You know well those very well, but I'll reiterate just so you don't ever say I didn't warn you. Don't do anything that would violate the Masquerade. Don't establish some secret routes of contact. I will know. Do treat it as the last time you two will meet. Take this chance to wrap everything up. Here's your story. You're fine, found yourself at a crossroads, decided to radically change your life and move out of the city. The subway is unbearable, the rent is too high. You've heard it all. You're ready to leave New York for good when you heard those absurd rumors about taking your life. So you've decided to set the record straight. He gives you a knowing look. And close the curtain on your relationship, once and for all, on your terms. The car makes a sudden turn. I'll leave the finer details to you. Just be so kind, don't make me regret it. You can sense his going out of his way for you, but doesn't try to force you into gratitude or stating it plainly. If you know you know, he'll see if you are worthy of his aid. We're here. You take a look around and recognize your destination. He was right. It is a familiar place. It's the club, the one you met your future sire, and while trying to forget about Jess. This is where they last saw poor Jaws, Who knows whatever might have happened to him? One Jessica Lowell is trying to find out. She got a tip from an anonymous source saying that you might appear here tonight. Wouldn't want to disappoint the lady, would you? She's apparently quite distraught. He turns off the engine and relaxes comfortably in his seat. You silently leave the car and head straight for the club. The last time you were headed this way, you still had a pulse. Feels almost nostalgic. There's a party getting started and some rookie DJ is trying to read the crowd. You begin to look for Jess. You wonder what the first thing you should say to her be. Yeah, that should work. The music is pulsing, and there are good vibes in the air. You spot a girl hurrying to the bathroom with a nosebleed. The smell is faint, but you're in the mood to have some fun. However, Coteries indicated that he's got a pair of eyes around here somewhere. Better stick to the plan. A stupid idea pops into your head. If you meet her and she says, "I want to be with you again," what would you do? Can't be together anymore. You'd have fun with her for the last time, before disappearing for good. A bittersweet farewell. But now, it feels like you've explored all the places Jess could have been. It's getting frustrating. You grab the cheapest drink they have it from the bar. A tall blonde girl in a stylish skirt smiles at you from behind heart-shaped glasses. You smile back, but this is no time for the heart to guide the hand. You walk past her, but back to your duty. You mimic taking a sip of your drink. God, you could have been having so much fun tonight. You could. I suddenly stumble into Jessica when you least expect it. She looks as if she's seen a ghost. You freeze up, trying to come up with something to say and failing. The last few years of your life flashes before your eyes. Wait, what was the line you decided to open a conversation with? Before you remember, a powerful slap takes you out of your sofa. You stupid motherfucker. And she gets the first line. You realize you spilled your drink all over your clothes. I've been so worried. I've been so fucking worried. Called everyone I knew to look for you. And you're just having fun clubbing? You thought it would be funny to drop all contact with everyone? Pretend something happened to you? What, you wanted to see my reaction? She slaps you again. You let some sort of disassociation set in and just watch the situation as it unfolds. I'll let everyone know you're okay, but don't you ever show yourself in front of me again. She turns back on the exit and disappears into the crowd, walking towards the exit. You look around. You notice the heart-shaped glasses girl chuckling in the distance. You're no longer in the mood to party. Guess you'll follow Jessica's lead and leave. Better not keep the sheriff waiting. Well, at the very least, you could say this. She still cares. That's nice. Looks like I didn't need to do anything. Back to Coteries' car. Once you close the door, he instantly puts his foot on the gas pedal. Walking off the pitch with no regrets. Said everything you had to say? You speak out without thinking. Yeah. Said she'll call off the search. Getting her to accept that it was over took some harsh words, but deep down, I knew she knew it was time to say farewell. Once and for all. She's a little shaken up, but she'll live. You spot a playful spark in Coteries' eyes. You took care of that like a man, did you? Very good. The people we knew in life have this tendency to briefly reappear in our own lives. One night, let's say 20 years from now, she might spot you on the streets. You wouldn't have aged a day from now, and even though she'll tell herself that that can't be you, she'll be jealous, and if you look happy, she'll feel regret over what could have been. So for the sake of the night, your paths cross once again. I hope you'll search for your own happiness. The car speeds up to cross an intersection before the light turns red. You give Coteries a good hard look. Thanks. It doesn't feel like a, how do you call it, very vampire thing to say, but you say it nevertheless. He's visibly taken aback, and his usually furrowed brows moves out for a moment. Then he takes on a serious, slightly sorrowful expression. Don't suck up to me, kid. Mr. Bad Guy is still here, and without a doubt, he will go back to decapitating suckers like you any time now. The car starts slowing down. We're here. Look out the window and see your haven. Take care. I'll see you around. Just pray I don't have to see you too often. You leave the car and start walking to your haven. Thinking about Coteries. Can't say you're fond of him. What with the welcome he gave you and all. But after tonight, you can't say you aren't either. You're gonna need some time to understand him, that's for sure. Immediately after you enter the park, you can tell that something is wrong. An odd silence hangs in the air, like the silence from a choking victim after the fight leaves them. It doesn't take you long to find Tamika. You see her in the distance, leaning against a tree. As you make your way towards her, she puts her finger on her lips. Only then do you notice the blood dripping from her side. You pick her up, letting her lean on you. She looks at you, her eyes wild with fear and rage. They're here, the Inquisition. They found us. Raoul, he drew him away. Saved my ass. He's still out there. We need to go. We need to help him. You're bleeding out. You're in no shape to mount a rescue. Screw you. A jolt of pain makes her almost bend in half. I'm going. You're barely standing. I won't let you get yourself killed. I'm going. You gotta stop me? Might as well kill me now. Through sheer force of will, she manages to straighten herself up. Let's fucking do this. You head deeper into the park. Soon you stumble upon a set of innocentious, I've never seen that word before. Barriers. Service vehicles, black and yellow caution tape, men in suits to keep the civilians out of a certain area. It's not at all difficult for a creature of the night to avoid these. You'll almost think that their presence here is accidental. Once you spot black vans deeper in, you get a foreboding feeling. Tamika grabs your shoulders and squeezes hard. Hold up, there. You have to squint to see it. 2 SI scouts have taken tactical positions between the trees. There's no way in hell you'd have noticed them or hid in time if Tamika didn't alert you. Body armor, camo, night vision goggles, rifles, semi-auto shotgun, some equipment you can't even name. These guys mean business. There's no time. She's getting ready to just pounce on them. Consequences be damned. You need to think, and fast. Focusing your effort, you head for the nearest opponent, letting Tamika take care of the other one. Your target falls before he's able to pull the trigger. A faint gargle lets you know Tamika has done her part as well. You look over and see her standing over the rapidly cooling corpse of the soldier. She flicks her wrist, sprinkling the grass under her feet with the man's blood. It's a tie. It's a tie. All things considered, she seems to be doing alright. We keep moving. Tamika gestures at the nearest patch of trees. Stick to shadows. Take him one at a time. Sound advice. You take it to heart as you move on towards Tamika's haven. It doesn't take long for you to run across some of them. More of them. 3 operatives in full riot gear. Wait, sorry, my nose is itchy. 3 operatives in full riot gear are running down a park alley, sweeping the area with barrel-mounted flashlights. Keeping very still and very quiet, you wait for them to approach. Tamika watches you from the bushes nearby, clearly waiting to follow your lead. I'm healthy, so I'll take 2. As the first victim marches past, you lunge at him, sinking your teeth into his neck. In one motion, you rip a chunk of flesh from his throat. Quickly before the other can react, you run at them, full speed. Just as you're about to take the first one out, Tamika pounces from the side, taking him out in an instant. As soon as she lands, she springs back toward the other one. A single slash of her claws is all it takes. The man's body falls to the ground. After a second or two, his head follows. You raise an eyebrow at Tamika. She hits with a roguish grin. 2-1. No time to savor your victory. A savage yell rings out from across the tree line. You know that voice, Raoul. Tamika throws herself toward where it came from. It's almost unbelievable how fast she moves. Considering the state she's in, you're barely able to keep up. Mere seconds later, you find yourselves under the cover of a rosebush. Aren't there thorns in the rosebush? I mean, we're vampires, so I don't think it matters. Giving you a clear view of a nearby clearing. Off in the distance, you spot a group of gunmen converging. Slowly but surely, the circle of hunters close in on a lone figure, struggling on the ground. The figure lets out a pained roar. Looking closely, you realize it's Raoul. Caught in the same steel net you saw against the scarred one. He struggles frantically, trying to break free. With each passing second, step by step, the operatives close in around him. Driven by instinct, Tamika jerks forward to save her brother. She stops herself at a moment, as if reminded of your presence. Okay, how do we do this? We go in, fast and fierce, no messing around. Take him out as quickly as we can. She nods in approval. Sounds good. You move in like a 2-person squad team, staying low to the ground before you finally make your first move. The first 2 hunters meet their death. Unfortunately, it's enough for the others to notice your presence. So much for the element of surprise. As 2 men turn towards you with their fingers ready on the trigger, another 2 approaches you, stabbing at the air with cattle prods. Going for the low-hanging fruit, you engage the cattle-prodded hunters. With some effort, you manage to avoid getting shot. Within seconds, both your opponents lay dead on the grass. Meanwhile, Tamika does her share as she swiftly avoids the gunfire and moves in for the kill. 4 bodies hit the ground, Two vampires are still standing. You both turned towards the last remaining foe. Driven by sheer desperation, the sole surviving soldier stands over Raoul and aims his automatic shotgun at his head. Tamika growls. You gesture at her to stand down. There's no room for mistake here. A faint whisper escapes your lips and makes its way into Tamika's ear. On my mark, be ready. With shaking hands, the gunman looks to you, then Tamika, as if warning you not to come any closer. It's mostly for show. He's fucked. He knows it. You bide your time, waiting for the right moment to signal Tamika. Finally, you see an opening, a split second of hesitation. Before you can make your move, Raoul springs up, grabbing the man's gun. As they struggle, you and Tamika lunge toward the gunman. Oh no. A shot rings. Raoul's body collapses under the weight of the steel net, his head a gaping hole. The operative looks at you, startled and confused. We should have just let him take him. But that would mean Tamika would have to put him down because he'd be broken. His eyes widen, seeing Tamika fly towards him, death incarnate. The man's screams echo across the park. She doesn't stop, not when his intestines are spilled on the grass. Not even when his eyes turn to bloody holes. Not when his face turns to mush. Only when the screaming stops. Only when it is certain he has met his cruel end. Only then does she stop. You watch in silence as she walks over to what's left of her brother. Falling to her knees, Tamika lets out a yell, unlike any you've ever heard. It's as if she's been possessed by some wailing spirit, a banshee screaming out into the sky. Her screams echo across the clearing until finally it all goes quiet. Her tears streaming down her face, she looks up at you. I mean, don't vampires cry blood? It's my fault. I put us in their sights. If it wasn't for me, he'd still... Clenching her fist, she pounds the ground in frustration. Fuck. Come on. We need to get out of here. This is still not over. More will be coming. She gets up. A violent shiver runs through her entire body, as if she is literally trying to shrug off her despair. She looks at you again. She seems far more clear-headed. Right. Let's get out of here. Hastily, yet carefully, you make your way out of the park. You don't stop until you reach a nearby alleyway. There, in the relative safety of the surrounding darkness, you take a moment to rest. Leaning towards the wall, Tamika presses her hand onto her wound, fighting off the pain. She looks up at you. Let's split up. Less attention. Hunters, spotters on the rooftops. I'm not going anywhere. We need to get you patched up. I know a guy. I'll be fine. Knowing when it's time to fold, you nod and head towards the far end of the alley. After several steps, you look back to see how Tamika's doing. You smile, noting her absence. Having managed past... Oh, I got an achievement. Complete Tamika's questline. Oh, I finished her questline! I think. Having managed past a few blocks without incident, you thank your lucky stars you blend into the nightly New York crowd. Hopefully, Tamika's made it as well. I think I have one more... I think I have enough time for one more route. Okay. As you make your way up the stairs, you notice that D'Angelo's office is surprisingly quiet. You were You were half expecting something akin to a scene from The Exorcist, with Sana lashing out curses and your companion sprinkling her with, well, whatever it is vampire uses for holy water. Holy water could be dangerous for vampires because true faith is a weakness of vampires. What you witness instead, as you open the door, is the picture of serenity. The girl, although still curled up in a corner, is still sitting calmly, with her eyes fixed on the pages of some pulpy detective novel. She doesn't even register your presence. Sitting behind his desk, D'Angelo seems to be looking over some files, puffing on his usual brand of cigar. Seeing no trace of Larson, you assume he must have gone back to his family. Noticing your presence, the vampire detective leans back in his chair and gives you a tired look. Hey there, kid. Glad you could make it. Any luck with Sana? You managed to get anything out of her? Same old, same old. Mumble, mumble, ominous non-scooter. Sicker. But I do know one thing. She might not be all there. He pats himself on the forehead in an utterly unnecessary attempt to illustrate the point. But she's not all gone either. I think there's still hope for this girl. Anyway, I've been going over the case files, mulling over our options. Surprise, surprise, they all suck donkey dick. No matter how we go about this, someone gets fucked over. Her, Larson, us. Okay then, lay it on me. What options do we have? Okay, let's polish this turd. Here's how I see it. 1. We grab Sana and take her to Elysium, and make a case for her to Panhard. 2. We get Valerie to back off by feeding her the dirt I got on Larson. 3. We try to get Sana out of the city. Come on, kid. I can hear them thoughts bouncing around your head. From over here. Out with it. Assuming we could get her out of the city, what makes you think she won't kill again? Hey, I ain't gonna let her loose on our estate and forget. I ain't just gonna let her loose in our estate and forget about it. I got some people up north, people I can trust. They might be able to help her. At the very least, keep her safe and make sure she doesn't do anything stupid. We want to bring Sana to the Elysium. Isn't that pretty much a death sentence? Pretty much, but not quite. If we can get an audience with Panhard, we might be able to convince her to spare Sana's life. The prince isn't as much as a harass some would like her to be. She'd probably avoid further alienating the Dustborn community. That said, if we run into Coteries, we're as good as fucked. Only time's are wasted. What do you think we should do? I do want Sana to live. So I'm... Like, I know we could try speak to the prince, but it's risky. And I like Larson. Wait, you're letting me make the call? Look, kid, I've been at it all day, mulling it over, and all I got for my troubles was a splitting headache. I just don't know anymore. We might need to rat out Larson. Because I want Sana to live. Like, I feel bad for her. I mean, Larson's kind of bullied, so all I'm asking, all I'm asking for is your opinion. Just pick one and make a case. Convince me it's the right thing to do, or the least wrong, at least. Cause Qadir, if we try to get out of town, Qadir literally told us he knows the ins and outs of the city, so he's probably gonna find out. And for the Elysium, first, she's a thin blood, so she's already not going to be liked. Second, she was murdering people and writing down vampiric prophecies. Apparently that's also a thing. Thin bloods apparently can see the future. But because that's technically 2 strikes, Qadir will kill her. So we might need to sacrifice Larson if we want to keep Sana alive. If I find out it's not worth it and Sana dies either way, then I'll just deal with it. So, one more time. Bring the girl to Elysium, trade her life for Larson's, or sneak her way out of town. Which one would you go with? I mean, there's also Larson's family. The way I see it, Larson's had it coming. Let him answer for what he did. Tell it to his wife and kids. Look, I'll be the first to admit, Larson's no saint. But he's not... Let's not pretend throwing him to the wolves will make us sprout angel wings, alright? There's always collateral damage. It still seems like the less of all evils. So be it. Fuck. Do me a favor, kid. Watch her for a few minutes, okay? I gotta make some arrangements. Make a few calls. He catches himself. Looks at you with an expression of the phoniest of phony guilt. But not like with a phone or anything, because, you know, that would make me a naughty boy, which I'm clearly not. He walks out of the office. Through the frosted windows, you see him instantly go for his clamshell phone. Does it really make a difference at this point? You turn to the girl, who still has her nose in the book. So, is that book any good? I don't usually go for this sort of stuff. It just leaves me cold. She looks up from the book, and her eyes gaze over. Cold. A shiver runs down her spine. You decide it's best to leave her to her reading, and spend the next few minutes in complete silence. Finally, D'Angelo staggers back into the room. Alright. I've set up a meeting with Valerie. Once we give her the evidence, she'll promise to look the other way. I don't think she's lying. He walks over to Sana, crouches beside her. Speaking softly, he takes the book out of her hands and gently strokes her head. Hey darling, I need you to listen carefully. There's a man coming to take you somewhere safe. You'll know it's him, because he'll say my name. Remember my name? She squints, trying her best to concentrate. D'Angelo. Close enough. Something akin to a smile creeps onto her face. It's as close to happy as you've seen her. Gif, not hurt. D'Angelo returns her smile. You're welcome. She turns to you, putting his serious face back on. He nods. Looks like it's go time. You follow D'Angelo through the streets of Brooklyn. He seems preoccupied and lets out one of his trademark mutters every once in a while. It suddenly occurs to you that he never told you where you're supposed to be meeting Valerie at. Still, you let the matters rest for now. You'll know soon enough. A few blocks further, and you find yourself in all too familiar area. You give D'Angelo a confused look as he stops in front of the Larson family home. All the lights are out. It doesn't seem like there's anyone in at the moment. You don't think Larson's family might be a problem? They would be, if they were here. Something tells me someone might have called them a while back. Something about the wife's parents being in an accident. Shitty move, but beats the alternative. If I were to guess, Larson probably just dropped them off at the airport. He should be back shortly. Come on, let's get inside. Standing on the porch, you scan the area, trying to look as casual as possible. Like, yeah, if we brought the girl to the Elysium, that's still gonna taint the Thin Bloods. Like, oh, we can't trust them, they're killing. So, one has Sana dead. The other had Sana dead and Thin Blood screwed over. This one just has Thin Blood screwed over. I mean, every other city in the World of Darkness already screws over the Thin Bloods. I mean, some might be more forgiving, like right now in New York, but still, it's a sacrifice. Standing on the porch, you scan the area, trying to look as casual as possible, while D'Angelo takes his time picking the lock. A few moments later, you're making your way up the stairs, leading to Larson's office. You have to say, it's one hell of a nice house. Certainly better than any hovel you've lived in, considering the hand life Considering the hand life has dealt him, Larson's clearly made the best of it. As you step into the office, D'Angelo makes himself comfortable in Larson's chair. He looks over the alarm clock sitting on the desk. Shouldn't be long now. True to his words, you hear someone fumbling with the locks downstairs. A muttered curse, and several panicked steps later, Larson appears at the door to his office. Jesus fucking Christ, I thought I was being robbed. He lets out a sigh of relief. It's very convincing. You can tell he's had a lot of practice. They're really pushing it, D'Angelo. There better be a good reason for this. There is the... You wanna do the honors? Hope I'm not late for the late attraction. The three of you turn toward the door in such perfect unison. It almost looks choreographed. Why can't I say that? I know the word. Like choreography. Choreographed. You see Valerie standing in the doorway. What the fuck? What's she doing here? Without uttering a single word, D'Angelo pulls over a tape recorder. He holds it up for everyone to see. D'Angelo, what are you? No! You wouldn't dare! At the press of a button, a device sputters to life. The recording is short and to the point. You can clearly recognize Larson's voice, telling a mutual friend where to find Nikki the Chop. The context does the rest. Thanks, Jeannie. That's all I needed. She walks up to Larson and puts a hand on his shoulder. The Thin Blood looks completely deflated. He mouths words and shakes as if he was about to cry. As much of an asshole as he's been to you, it's hard not to feel sorry for him. Okay, sweetie. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. The first way goes like this. I take you to the prince, let you state your case, and you accept whatever punishment is given. Or we can get it over with we could get it over with here and now, and leave a nasty stain for your wife to clean up. The Thin Blood Primogen gives her a look of utter defeat. You can tell he's made his choice. Before both leave, he takes one look at D'Angelo. You killed me, D'Angelo. You fucking killed me. I want you to know that. D'Angelo looks him dead in the eye. They keep at it for a while. They keep at it for a few seconds. Silent, unflinching. Sorry, Larson. There was no other way. Keep telling yourself that. At a certain point, you might actually start to believe it. Trust me, I would know. I think that's enough drama for one night. Let's go. On her way out, she gives D'Angelo a slight nod. It tells you all you need to know. He's kept his word. He's kept his end of the deal. Sana should be safe, at least for the time being. Once they are gone, D'Angelo gets up from the chair. He picks a framed family photo of the desk and stares at it in silence. Finally, he puts it back and nods at you. Time to head back. Slowly, clumsily, you make your way back to the grain mill. No words are spoken, no bad jokes made, no monologues muttered, and no smiles exchanged. There's only silence and vacant stares. As you look up the stairs to D'Angelo's office, you can feel the tension rising. You can tell the moldy sleuth has reached a breaking point. He walks to his office and leans against the cluttered desk. You figured now is as good a time as to break the silence. Why don't you grab some shut-eye? It's been a long night. The moment you finish your sentence, D'Angelo leans and sweeps all the stuff off the desk. Notepads, bits of paper, and what looks like cheap imitation of an antique lamp. It all comes crashing to the floor. It doesn't stop there, as he grabs a heavy file cabinet and knocks it over. Slowly but surely, the once quiet office turns into a heap of crumpled paper and broken furniture. The tension lasts for mere seconds, but as you stand there watching, it feels like forever. Finally, D'Angelo stops and looks up at the ceiling. It's hard to tell if he's had enough, or simply ran out of stuff to throw around. As he stands there, slowly regaining composure, one of the objects scattered on the floor catches your eye. It's a small paperback novel, the same you saw Sana reading earlier tonight. It must have landed somewhere while D'Angelo was giving the room a royal thrashing. You pick it up. In huge letters, the title on the cover spells The Longest Night and Other Stories. The small caption underneath reads, Another collection of stories from Jeannie D'Angelo's saga. What the actual fuck? You flip it over and immediately drawn to the picture on the back of the cover. If not for a lack of flaky skin and distorted features, you'd say the guy looks very familiar. The name next to the picture, Reginald Finch. You stand there, not even knowing where to start. Even in his current state, D'Angelo, or whatever his name is, remains one step ahead of you. Yeah, that's me in the picture. Reggie fucking Finch. Haven't seen him in a while. Wasn't planning to. You named yourself after one of your characters? Afraid it's more than that. I sort of became him. See, Reggie Finch was a pushover, a small-time journalist, and a wannabe writer. He would never survive out there among the coteries of New York. He said it! He said the line! Jeannie D'Angelo, on the other hand? Honestly, it just sorta happened. Guess it was the only way I could make sense of it all. I mean, once you wake up looking like this, realizing your life and all that you were is gone forever, you can't really blame me for trying to at least make it interesting. I guess, to some extent, we all put on an act in front of others. We make up characters, idealized versions of ourselves. It gives us something to live up to. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still weird, but it's not that weird. D'Angelo. For a moment, he seems to mull over what you just told him. Finally, he picks up the ashtray off the floor, rummaging through the ashes. He finds a mangled half-finished cigar. He sticks it in his mouth and lights it up. The lighter's flame reflects in his shades. He smiles at you, ever so slightly. Thanks, kid. Tell you what, how about you take the rest of the night off? I need some time to get my shit in order. Starting with this office, some dumb assholes made one hell of a mess of it. You smile and nod. He nods back. I'll be seeing you. And so you leave him to his thoughts. No way to be sure, but you have a feeling. It's gonna be alright. I finished this thing too! Anyways, I'm saving here. So I hope you guys had fun. I didn't expect we'd finish 2 characters' routes, but here we are. So, as per usual, no streams. No streams until next Friday for some people, but Saturday for me. And I hope you look forward to that. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope I see you guys roughly next week. Goodbye.